Rip. It's gonna take forever for my thing to update. Whatever. Alright, welcome to Out of In Character, Episode 6. Today, I am joined by Muse of Dune, Joy, Obsidian Dragon, Raj, Grouch God, God of Grouches, Majin Killpot, or Adam.
Oh, hey, that's me.
It is you. And we are going to be asking the Rylander, Ryan, questions about his writing and things that have inspired him.
Hello.
Yes.
Hello, everyone.
Hello.
So, getting down to brass tacks, when was it that you started role-playing?
I think it was like a month or two after Shugo. Well, for the board, I was at a LAN party, and one of my best friends, Mike, who played Derek, was taking a break from one of the games, and I looked over at his computer screen, being nosy, and he was on old 552. And so I asked about it, and he kind of gave me the gist, and I was like, "Oh, that sounds cool." So I decided to give it a shot. Before that, I had been playing Dungeons and Dragons since I was 10.
Ooh.
And writing before that.
Do you remember your first ever character?
My first ever character in Dungeons and Dragons was an elvish ranger named Woodfall, and he died by stepping on a teleportation trap that teleported him a mile above the woods,
Oh,
and he fell to his death because the GM liked irony.
damn.
Yeah, so that was my first experience in D&D. I think it lasted a session, maybe two.
Oh. What level do you know? Remember?
One.
Oh. Didn't even let you get into your character yet.
Nope.
Rude.
So they were one of those kind of DMs.
Yep. Yep.
Jeez, I don't know if you could remember this. What was the inspiration behind Woodfall? Was it like Lord of the Rings or books or whatnot, or just because, hey, I want to play an elf?
It was honestly because I wanted to play an elf, and I was like, elves are like nature and shit.
That's fair.
But less swearing. I was 10.
Right. Can't all be like me, raised a sailor. Any other questions from the panel?
So, what was probably your first memorable fight with any character? Since I know you mentioned your first D&D character did not get very far.
So I guess I would ask like inform RPing or like D&D stuff, or because I did D&D for about 5 or so years before I got into forum role playing.
Say, go ahead with the forum RP.
I mean, the first memorable encounter I think would have been Jimothy versus Faust. Jimothy had found out through his investigations and stuff about Faust and Ark's plan for the purification, and him being part of the school newspaper, legitimately just published that into the school newspaper that we mass PM to everybody every month. So I wrote an article and everything, and then Faust hunted Jim down to make an example of him, and Jim basically just held his ground and was like, "Yeah, I did, and I'm not going to fight you." Right. Because he was a pacifist. And it was very much just kind of like standing up to him and showing him that he's not afraid. Knowing full well that he would probably get really hurt from this. Which he didn't. Bounced back down, surprisingly.
So how long did it take you to investigate the source material for 552?
A couple hours. I actually didn't watch the Shin Flash series until I've been RPing in the universe for like 3 or 4 years. I read the rules.
Wow.
Just, and I just made a character.
By then it was outdated as fuck too.
Really updated. So I don't have all of the fuzzy memories of like Andre and Guy and Legend and Shin that a lot of the old timers do. They did not influence me at all.
Right on. Adam, do you want to hit a question since you're going to be here the shortest amount of time?
So since I kind of only knew you from Paradigm, I think was the earliest. I guess I would kind of have to jump to there and be like, what was your highlights of Paradigm? I would think.
Oh God, I mean that's a really hard question because there were honestly a lot of highlights, and I liked a lot of the characters that I got to make, and I really enjoyed a lot of the events. Um, One that I hold really close to my heart is how close I came to throwing a monkey wrench in your life arc by Steve being apparently one question off from being like the perfect host. That did tickle me.
That was pretty good. I like that.
But there was a lot of things I really liked about Paradigm. Not just things that I got to do, but other characters like Kazuya just being a terrible person and murdering powers, befriending him and feeding him to evolution. I really liked a lot of the stuff I got to do with Jim and his plot arc stuff. I liked Eric a lot. I liked the idea of having this character that can basically summon anything from whatever reality. Like he could pull from any possibility and just pull whatever he wants out. And him being a relatively well-adjusted person as opposed to like the really angst-filled stuff, and crediting that to the fact that like when he was in special ed, the idea that being born with metaphysical powers meant that he had special needs. So he had special education classes because of those special needs. And just also, coming from and being adopted, but knowing he was adopted, and his family being like super loving. I really like that positive contrast. And I love just the casual nature of Paradigm, that I could make a thread and it felt like people hanging out and getting to know each other because it was completely PvE. The GMs weren't out to kill us. There were no items and like stat matchings. So it was completely about working as a team and building those bonds and relationships.
Yeah, I was going to ask too, with Paradigm, the approach to storytelling had to be a lot different comparatively to the conflicted styles, I should say, that we were used to beforehand. So, was that like a refreshing change or something that you needed to get used to before you really dove in, or?
It was super refreshing because a whole event was done in 2 hours. There was no like a month or month and a half for a quest to get done, and by the time it's done, let alone the arc, I'm already bored. Things were happening fast. It was fresh. The content drip was always going, and you didn't have that gear treadmill, so you could do the follow-ups if you wanted, but if you needed to take a few days off, just be back for Sunday and you're still in the main events, and you're fine. And if you miss one, the arcs happen so fast too that you can just jump right back in.
Yeah, I'd say that was probably Paradigm's biggest kind of strength, was how fast it was.
Sort of drop in, drop out co-op feel.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I was able to get a lot done with a lot of characters, most of which I feel had fairly satisfying conclusions.
Elias is currently buying stuff. I was like, okay, cool. How much am I going to take? He's still got $690,000.
Yes.
Gonna have to fix that.
I just fixed it, I added the $696,000 that he had beforehand.
I don't really have a statement for that question.
I'm sorry, I'm being
was-
talked to. I'm being talked
I was
to.
gonna be like, sorry, folks, we're having technical difficulties at the moment. Let's cut to a commercial real quick.
I'm in a podcast right now. That's the money he had.
Okay, whatever.
So Ryan,
I thought that was one of the whole things that me, you,
what was
Ryan,
your
sit down
what
and
what
like,
character
that's
do you think
excessive.
you most have the most fun posting as?
Well, I mean, it really depends on the circumstance. Matthew is the easiest one for me. I've played him for 16-ish years now in various forms. I have a lot of fun with his various incarnations, ages, and mindsets. But I generally have fun with all of my characters. Um, they all have really interesting things to explore, and I try to make them all different and dynamic enough that I don't get bored with them. Even if they lean on similar tropes, I try to distinguish them enough, at least for me, to explore new things.
Yeah,
Well,
I
you-
definitely see where they definitely have their strengths as well as what marks them as independent. Case in point, just pulling from Cabal or even Paradigm, Eric or Killian, if it was on Paradigm and Cabal respectively, would not be confused in any way, shape, or form with Matthew.
Yeah. That actually kind of leads me to a follow up of like, how do you? Because I know currently you have like there's like 3 or 4 different Matthews that are there. How do you kind of like put yourself in the mindset of like I'm this Matthew as opposed to this one that's from this timeline or this one from this timeline kind of thing?
So for that, I try to look, and I did this on the Hindia site where I was just being cheeky and playing with like all kinds of alt versions of the characters too, that never existed. And I try to start with a snapshot of where they're at, and extrapolate from there. So, and in this case, there are 3 current Matthews that I'm aware of that are quote unquote in existence right now. There is young Matthew, there is old Matthew, and then there is fake Matthew in the New World. So for young Matthew, the way I see it is a snapshot of that is this is right after he becomes Ares. It's within that first couple of weeks of that. Right now, he's in the middle of the old war. The world recently ended for him back then too, but in a very different way. He came back into things and was disgusted by just how stagnant everyone was in this Cold War. So he's in the middle of his blitzkrieg right now. He's hungry. He is still trying to earn these accolades, and he is still playing a game. Everything is a game for him, and it's all about his entertainment. Older Matthew, he's 20 years older. He's seen that he's lost his arm. He's gotten married. He's had a kid. He's buried a kid. Kind of idea. He's a lot more tempered. He still feels that he knows best, but he's more methodical. He's less improv, and he's a lot more tempered. He's less of a snarky asshole, and more about like leading questions to try to guide you to finding your correct answer. Fake Matthew, he's going to be a lot more similar to young Matthew, because what I was told is that it was kind of a version of him in his prime. And a character in their prime, I think, is when they're still reaching, not when they've peaked, but when they still have that drive before they really start to settle. However, since his existence is tied to testing WR, that character is going to be very much about making sure that WR fails and setting up to make sure that WR fails, because the only way to succeed is to succeed despite being set up to fail. It is despite being trapped and tricked.
Okay.
Kind of earning that victory type thing.
The game.
I just wanted to point out the difference between Jimothy the pacifist, and Matthew the overbearingly violent. Um, was that a conscious decision, or was it just kind of something that evolved from Matthew hating Jimothy?
So Matthew hating Jimothy was done for two reasons. Um, One, because I thought it was funny that the idea that the inciting incident that made Matthew go down the path of being a villain was over a pumpkin pie. And two, I wanted to make sure that my character had no reason to be talking about my other character or, trying to like go into that person's spotlight. Like, he wasn't going to be like, oh, I'm related to Jimothy. You knew my cousin? How was he? Like, what did you think of him? Oh, his funeral was so sad. I wanted to avoid that. I wanted Matthew to be on his own feet. And the only mentions of Jimothy Clavish was purely as me just making a joke. But I wanted him to be his own distinct entity, which is why I gave him that disdain and hatred for him. So he has no reason to talk about him. He has no reason to think about him because he hates this guy, and this guy's dead, so he's nothing.
That's fair.
Yeah, for sure.
That actually begs the question: was Jimothy your first character, or was Matthew your first character?
Neither. I actually had another character on 552 before Jimothy to kind of get my feet wet. And after like a thread or two, I dropped the character entirely because it was a test balloon. So Jimothy was my first character on 552. Matthew came a couple of years after that.
Okay. I got the timeline in my head now.
So I know 552 went all gangs of New York there for a long time, and Jimothy and Matthew were both like smack center at some point or another in their highlight reels. Which one did you prefer more for a storytelling point of view when it came to the politics between the different factions? Was it the Equilibrium's kind of council-esque talk it out? Or was it Matthew's, if you're weaker than us, you basically deserve to be beat down and we're going to steal your shoes?
It was Matthew's. Actually, the equilibrium thing is the reason why I killed Jimothy, because I found that this piece will kind of talk it out. While I had originally wanted equilibrium to kind of act as a third counterweight to make sure that no one power got too much to start a Cold War, it in its own right became its own Cold War kind of thing. Which became boring, and I just stopped having fun. So I gave Jimothy a hero's death. Matthew, because he is so selfish, does not allow a Cold War to exist. He will always act. He will always be proactive because he always wants more.
Good way to put it.
He's a hungry, hungry boy.
You don't get to the top by just sitting around.
When you moved Matthew to Paradigm, the transition of the character didn't seem all that difficult or different. Sorry. However, he did seem to have some different kind of personality quirks. What was the I guess mentality going into moving Matthew to Paradigm?
So that was because originally he was actually a villain for an arc, and I don't think the arc went well at all for various reasons. I think some of the other characters on it and some of the other players, at least for me, made it very unfun. And it was my first time running an arc on Paradigm as well, so I had those growing pains to boot. So he originally transferred over to be a villain because it was just the character I was comfortable with, and I had a rogues gallery that would be with him from various other sites. Transitioning him to a player character after that, the different kind of quirks and thoughts came from the mentality that I always kind of assumed that if Matthew didn't die as a teenager and the world didn't end like it did in 259, Matthew probably would have found himself in the military. He probably would have found himself with a lot more discipline from that. That would have helped shape him along in those directions. So that's where he kind of became a lot more static, a lot more about order instead of his own kind of like chaos as a ladder kind of mentality. Also, when he kind of became a, kind of a, I mean, he was never a player character over there, but like my instructor, it was going with the idea of a redeemed villain because throughout all of his incarnations, he was always an antagonist because he always thought that the world had inherent flaws to it, that humanity was always tearing itself down, and that the best way for humanity to move forward was to unite. And the best way through that isn't through diplomacy, it's by being a big enough threat that everyone has to unite against you. So that was his mindset as a villain going into that. And then going as a more staff character to help these kids, that was more him realizing that his plan never actually had a chance to succeed. And his next best shot is instead to try to help the next generation be better than his was.
And he also became dad to everyone who had daddy issues.
And everybody had daddy issues, let me fucking tell you.
Oh my god.
So if you want to talk to Matthew about problems, like why? He stabs you. Yeah, but he's a straight shooter.
I mean, you're honest and outright, people flock to you. Would you say that was a similar lesson that he learned from, say, like the Green Rebellion or just the end of ROB?
He learned nothing from either of those. Both of those ended perfectly for him. End of ROB, he got propelled into even greater stages. And while he was kidnapped from the end of the Green Rebellion, he wound up on 259 and immediately put all of the heavy hitters in their fucking place and began his meteoric rise there. He learned nothing from either of those two.
Oh,
things.
sad times. Okay.
If anything, it really just reinforced, like, you know what? I actually can just make anything work.
All right. So, in contrast to that, then, what would you say is the event that he learned the most from?
I mean, I guess it depends on what you mean by like what he learned the most from. If you mean it like in a way that like helped him grow as a character and like reevaluate his life experience, I would say losing his arm. I think that was a very clear lesson of remember thou art mortal.
Fair.
Especially since now it's kind of a running thing that every incarnation of Matthew will eventually at some point lose that arm. It has become a constant in the multiverse.
It's two rules. Uncle Ben always dies, and Matthew always loses his arm.
Pretty much.
Yep.
Pretty much. Remember thou art mortal. I'm curious to see how it's going to happen to young Matthew, who currently has both arms still.
For now.
For now,
now.
right. Adam, you got anything?
I guess I can kind of like harken back to one of the questions I had. Do you think like there's been any kind of like out of character drama that helped kind of shape how you approach things on a board?
So that would actually be what made the dragons a thing. So,
Oh yeah, let's get into that.
So basically on 552, Bonk, fuck Bonk, by the way.
Gotta have every episode with at least one fuck bonk.
Oh.
So I don't even remember what fucking triggered it, but essentially, Bonk put down his foot and was like, "No, you can't call yourself a dragon. You can't call yourself an anti-pillar. Only quest characters can do this stuff. No, you can't make your own board plots. That is for staff to do." And things like that.
So that was I can actually explain that one. That is a direct response to the quest characters that were cards, the king, the queen, spade, and all that that got shut down real hard because it was basically one staff member who was like, "Okay, make these QCs. We're doing this story right now." And then right after that was shut down, somebody complained about, hey, we haven't had any kind of quests or storylines, we want to do our own thing. I was making the Syndicate pillars at the time with Arion and a couple others, and one of the staff members had given us titles and everything to kind of like reflect the pillars with the white names and everything. And somebody else, one of the other staff, was actually getting off their ass and trying to make new dragon QCs, like Crisscross, the Bone Dragon, which actually eventually became a thing, and I think one other. However, Bonk finally like logged in his one time that month and and saw everything, and immediately was like, "No, fuck, no, absolutely not." He just went on his tirade.
Yeah, so anyway, so at this point, a few of us had dragon items from either fighting the original dragons ourselves, or in Matthew's case, through a series of schemes. And so we all kind of got together out of character, and we decided to put our foot down. And by we, at first it was just me, Leon, and Art, and we're like, yeah, no, I'm the Earth Dragon, I'm the Lightning Dragon, I'm the Fire Dragon. They're like, no, you can't. I'm like, but I've got the Earth Dragon code. So my character is just in character declaring himself as the rightful Earth Dragon because he has this item from a quest character.
Mm-hmm.
And enough of the staff kind of took our side on it in the community that it just kind of stuck. But that's kind of how the dragon started. And then from there, we kind of made our own out of character rules about how we were going to do this moving forward. And we had decided that no one under any circumstance can become a dragon unless all current living dragons unanimously agree to allow them into our ranks.
Mm-hmm.
And at 2, we stay out of each other's fucking business unless it directly contradicts one of our own character goals. We don't fucking interfere. Ark is doing his purification. As long as he's not messing with my people and my shit, I don't give a fuck. Matthew's fucking doing all of this crap. Nobody fucking cares. Leon wants to kill Jester because Jester's raping people. Have fun.
Yep.
Just don't try to kill me, and we're cool.
Prime example would be the Green Rebellion when that was all going down and Leon was just fighting everybody. He saw Marcus, and he was like, "No, we don't get involved. We don't choose sides." So he jumped down and fucked around with Marcus, but he didn't fuck around specifically to go against Matthew's goals as with the Green Rebellion.
Yeah, like Leon fighting in green is one thing. Leon standing there and backing up the fucking administration and be like, "No, you guys are gonna have to go through me." That would have been Ark would have immediately jumped in and fucking smacked Leon down with Matthew then. Because you're breaking the rules.
Yep.
I find that funny because that event basically made Marcus just be like, "Oh, you know what? No, fuck this. I'm going to take over the whole damn thing now."
Yep.
And the veto thing was really important too because because of the start of it, because we were all risking our ban. Like,
yeah, Bonk was threatening us.
Shit.
We were getting threatened with like lifetime bans, having our characters deleted, and all this other stuff. And we were like, "Go ahead." We are like the most
active people on the board.
Yeah, we were the most active, respected at the time people on the board. Like, you get rid of us, you're gonna drop a lot of people.
We were the ones actually making things happen when everyone else was bored. We were the ones creating drama and conflict. And so we figured that since we are the ones that took that risk, if anyone else is just going to come in and try to, like, because it became an in-character status symbol too. And we're like, no, I don't want some fucking just rando coming in here. I'm like, I'm a dragon. No. So we agreed that it was going to be unanimous. And if anybody tried to call themselves a dragon, that is something we would all get together and squash as well.
Yeah.
If you want to make your own group, that's fine. And in character-wise, Matthew is constantly disappointed in everyone. So many people are like, I want to be the next dragon. I'm like, why don't you make your own fucking thing? Be a fucking unicorn or a griffin or I don't fucking care. A rock type. I'm obsidian and this here is garnet. Like, who fucking cares? Give it meaning. But people are lazy and they want to hijack your symbol.
That does feel like a very Matthew thing to say.
Yeah.
So my question for you, just since we've been talking about Matthew and Jim a lot so far, is the fact that they've bounced through a few different boards. You know, they've been 552, they've been Paradigm. You know, currently they're 259. Do you think it's? Are you comfortable with the characters when you just recreate them for a new world and a new setting, or do you find that there's maybe a bit of a surprise when you're recreating the bio for whatever stipulations are going on with the new setting?
I'm pretty comfortable with the characters because I feel that the core aspects of what makes the characters can work in any setting. You just need to, in your history, figure out the right inciting incidents that would work with the setting. You know, but if your issue is daddy issues, I mean, you can have different daddy issues. You don't have to try to shoehorn. Well, no, my dad was this, and we worked in New York in a fantasy setting or something like that. You can come up with something else and still have the same issues to lead to like the same kind of character mindset and personality. You know, names and dates still might change, but the core parts I think are pretty interchangeable if you are willing to be a little bit creative with it. That being said, I also do try to make new characters on every board I play on, and not just bounce between old characters. I think it's a lot more fun to try to make new characters on new boards and explore new stories.
Yeah, I remember when you and I had first come to 259 as it is now, you were really excited to not have Matthew be your main. Your main at that time was Blake, and he definitely had a story and a quest line and a personality all of his own that stood out from a lot of the others that were there.
The only reason Matthew even became a character on 259 during this Cabal reboot sessions is because David said, "Oh yeah, no, Matthew's entire family and him was murdered," and I was like, "Excuse you?" That's literally the only reason. And as for young Matthew, since we've got like 4 timelines going on, I'm just kind of like, you know what? I've never actually really gotten to play Matthew interacting with Matthew before, so that might be fun. But otherwise, you know, I'm still much more interested in Blake's storyline or Killian's storyline or any of that, because for the most part, like I feel like Matthew's told his stories. Like NPC Matthew, he's really only around for when other people need him. You know, he wasn't going to show up in the last reboot set at all, except you know, Kane there was trying to become Deimos, which is under Ares, so he ran into Matthew on Olympus. But you know, he wasn't going to show up at Cabal. You know, my other characters weren't really going to be referring to him or doing anything with him because the world is big and vast, and it's bigger than just one person. Even if the person is, you know, not to be egotistical, but as big as Matthew, in the history of the 259 stuff. You know, I think it's important to give those characters a chance to rest and to let them lie so that new legends can kind of take their place and new stories can blossom. Because I think if you go too hard into that, you're really cheating yourself more than anything. Again, Blake I think is a perfect example. So much cool stuff happened with Blake. So many fucking epic moments. That fight in Ireland, holy fuck. Never would have happened with Matthew. That whole scenario never would have happened.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Wait, what fight in Ireland?
Oh God.
Yeah, feel free. Elaborate.
So, Blake started off basically exiled from his people because he got shot in the chest with an arrow, and he manifested chi abilities. They hated chi users, so he ended up at Cabal, surrounded by chi users. He fucking hated everybody. He was fight me every fucking threat. His mindset is I am an arrow loose from my master's quiver. I don't care what happens to me as long as I strike my enemy dead. full offense, no defense, fighting style. Eventually, he developed more, and he returned home, and he found out that the elders were also chi users, and they were basically it was all his whole life was a lie. It was basically a cult, and he ended up killing the elders, and he freed his people from that. Then they were going to be attacked by David's like random fucking armies of like 20,000 people, and so he helped defend them there, and they followed him, and he became their king, and so he started building Aurora, and then they started hearing things about the Conqueror and shit, and the Conqueror's got all of these abilities from different continents, and his base is a flying fucking castle. So Blake, with Virgil, found out that the castle is flying because of Ireland, because of the power of the land of Ireland when he conquered it. So Blake found a way to cross the ocean, which is normally uncrossable. He had to teleport. So it was Blake alone. None of his army, no Bailey, no other player character. Blake alone in enemy territory. And he went and found a person that was kind of like a resistance leader, but was also really kind of like done and being like, this is a lost cause. And he kind of recruited him. And then he went and walked up to the Conqueror's base.
Mm-hmm.
And just basically like, I'm here to accept your surrender or I will kill you all.
Yeah,
They did not surrender.
they were not prepared for that at all either, because Ireland had been conquered for a while. The people were subjugated full on, like this was peaceful times in Conqueror land. So officers were fat and stupid. Soldiers were like, wait, are people trying to fight us?
Yeah, and fucking here comes Blake, and he's like, I'm here to accept your surrender or you will die. He has a ring that lets him attempt to like compel someone to do something, and he basically rolled a nat 20 on it. So he basically intimidated the lieutenant dude to surrender, to fucking like, yep, no, I want none of this. So him and his guys went back. So then Blake descended into the base to basically fight one of the Conqueror's like 4 generals in a one-on-one solo fight. And Blake was probably a post from dying like 3 different times in that thread. I had to use every fucking bullshit combo of abilities I had, items, healing items, and a lot of fucking luck and just like good rolls to survive that. But Blake won. And Blake was able to come home. And the Conqueror's castle fell. Well, it stalled. Blake ended up shooting it out. So if you remember, I described Aurora. It's surrounded by a wall of crystal, right?
Yeah.
So there was like a mini game thing where me and Elias used, me and Adam used, where we were like upgrading our territories. So I legitimately built my walls out of chi crystal, which amplifies chi. So Blake basically stood on the wall, put his hands on it, and then channeled his chest cannon through the fucking wall to amplify it and fucking shot it.
Jesus Christ.
Nearly killed him there too.
As you do.
And yeah, like that's just how fucking Blake goes. Blake is no breaks Blake. One of the earliest events, we were on a runaway train and it was about to fucking go off the tracks into the water. And Blake fucking stood at the door. Well, like, so we were fighting, like, we were all kind of broke up and fighting around little mini bosses. Blake beat his boss in like 2 posts while everyone else was like struggling. So it was like, oh, well, the train's not going to stop and this is going to happen. Blake awakens a new chi ability of his. I just unlocked one where he can grow to like 15 feet. Blake just fucking puts a foot out the door and slams his foot down and starts to grow and uses his foot as the fucking train brake.
Oh my god.
Because he doesn't fucking care if he dies. He doesn't care if he gets hurt.
Yeah.
Just fucking full offense. And again, that would never happen with Matthew. Matthew does care if he dies. Matthew would not just fucking like, I'm gonna teleport to an unknown land with unknown amount of forces on my own and then fucking just like walk into the base. Matthew would plan something.
Oh yeah.
Matthew, I think Matthew would have still won that fight, and it wouldn't have been as close, but it wouldn't have been as epic.
Yeah.
Yeah, Blake definitely had a sense of just being solid in his own presence in a way that I feel like most of your characters have, which is kind of nice to see, because it also shows how just that one trait can translate so well and so differently between those inciting incidents you were mentioning being for different characters.
Yeah, I think you should always try to, even if your character is not confident, I think you should always try to at least be confident in your character.
Good words.
And that's how you give them a strong voice.
So we've been on like so many boards over our tenure.
Mm-hmm.
And we've blind jumped, we've investigated, we've just made two characters to be opposed or with each other. What kind of advice would you give to somebody who's walking into Forum RP for the first time?
Mm-hmm.
My advice would be to think about the very core concept of your character. In my case, it's often a joke. Matthew was a bad guy because he was ratted out for stealing a pumpkin pie. And then kind of build from there. Well, how did that make him feel? How did he react to that person? Well, what happened then? And kind of build from there. But it always comes back to this core concept. And in the case of Matthew, he's trying to steal a pumpkin pie at Thanksgiving, tried to eat it before the fucking dessert was ready. And it all comes back to selfishness. Matthew is a selfish character. He was punished and had consequences for his actions. Instead of reflecting on that, he instead blamed others for it. It was a young age, so he rebelled against authority figures. He fell into a bad crowd. That meant that he got more involved with crime, which meant he got more violent as he ran with gangs, and then it escalates from there. But when I try to make a character for anything, I try to think small and build up steps from there. And I also try to make it fit logically within the world. Again, with Matthew and 552 was a very realistic setting. There was no cheat or anything. Matthew at 13 wasn't a fucking like badass guy in the gang that people were answering to, and the cops like, oh man, that's Matthew Amstrom. He was fucking taking orders and like running shit and didn't know what the fuck he was doing. He was literally running drugs because they were like giving him paper bags to like go deliver to this person. And he had no idea what was in the bags. He was a fucking dumb kid. I would say don't be afraid to not make your character lower key instead of trying to make them like super cool and badass, because it's a lot more rewarding to on screen build them to eventually become super cool and badass.
Yeah.
Rather than trying to start that way in your bio and your first thread and like, I'm tough shit, or I am super fucking cool or famous. Some people can definitely make that stuff work. My advice would always be just try to be a normal person and then help them grow to be extraordinary.
Good advice.
God.
You got anything, Adam?
I agree. I think that's part of one reason why they're, even if they start out as a joke, like you've mentioned, some of your characters do, they still have that thing where it's reasonable enough that, like we've been saying, that's something Matthew would do. That's definitely something Blake would do. It's a very strong line of who the character is.
Trust me, the memes will come later. They will come.
Adam?
It kind of reminds me of like a scene I saw in another RP board. I'm not sure if you were in this one or not. I think you were. No, this was still 5.5.2, but this was like a weird transitionary period 5.5.2 or something. A couple of players made two characters, and they were basically the spoiled rich kids that wanted to be evil. And their entire bio was just, we're so evil. Our family's this evil. Like, we had castles and shit. I'm just like, oh my fucking God, are you serious, dude? And they showed up on their first thread, all like strutting into school. And literally, Marcus and Marcus after the Green Revolution, too. And like, three other high level characters just jumped in like, cool, hi, welcome to the school. We're going to beat you into the dirt now for the next 5 minutes. Try to survive. And the players themselves just started freaking out. Like, you can't just do that. You can't, like, we're not trying to kill you. We're going to beat you into the dirt to give you a reason to try harder later. Please understand. And that comes with the whole, like, oh, don't try to, like, be badass right off the start. Like earn it.
Honestly, a lot of my favorite stuff, again from like 5.5.2, was not like the super crazy fucking anime shit. One of Matthew's iconic items was he had a roll of pennies, and basically he would clutch that roll of pennies in his hand, and it would make his hand denser just from the extra weight in it. Yeah. So it was kind of like a stealth brass knuckles idea. It would just hit harder because his fist is heavier. When you joined Reign of Blood, it wasn't like you need to go fucking kill a dude or you need to fucking do this like really nefarious shit. Vetus would literally again take a roll of pennies, or whoever was running the jump in, a roll of pennies, and would break it open and dump 50 pennies on the ground, and you would need to pick them up while the rest of the gang beat the shit out of you, including trying to kick the pennies out of your hands. And all you had to do was just collect all 50 pennies and hold them. And then that was it. That was done.
Gotta take your lumps.
Yeah, that's what it was. Bleed in, bleed out. It wasn't like, no, if you're going to join us, then you're going to have to do something truly nefarious. You know, it wasn't the evil League of Evil. You know, you weren't
eat this chicken in front of me.
Yeah, you weren't trying to fucking like impress Bad Horse. You know, it was. We tried to look at like real fucking gang shit.
Yeah, steal people's shoes.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, a lot of my favorite things that Matthew did was like fucking low-level street crime shit. You know, one time he knocked someone out with a fucking tire iron and shoved them in, and that's how he kidnapped someone. He fucking knocked her out with a tire iron, shoved her in the trunk of a car, and drove. He had, you know, she was out having lunch, and he like slashed her tire. And she'd come out and like, oh no. And he's like, oh, did you need help like with your flat? And she's like, yeah. And he's like, yeah, I can help. You know, so she was like opening up the fucking trunk of the car, and he just like whomp. And fucking like dumped her, changed the tire, and drove off. Doesn't have to be super elaborate. No, he got the Earth Dragon coat. That accumulated him getting the Earth Dragon coat.
Was that when he kidnapped Jane, or what was her name?
Yeah, Teal's girlfriend.
Yeah.
Yeah, Cyrus, I think.
Yeah.
Iris. Something. But yeah, I mean, just, you know, just keep it simple. Keep it grounded.
But-ums.
Yes.
Got anything, Adam?
Well, if you had to pick, like, is there any kind of, like, character, theme or, like, concept that you haven't felt like you've been able to explore when making a character, or?
Honestly, any of the tropes that are primarily female characters, I always feel super uncomfortable playing a female character because, one of my biggest fears is, you know, playing a female character and really just coming off as like, this is a guy playing a girl how he thinks girls act. Because I don't want to be disrespectful. So I've never really gotten to explore any of the tropes that are, if we were to dive down the TV tropes, fucking, you know, the always female tropes. You know, I generally stick to male characters. I've had a couple of female characters here and there, but they always get regulated to side characters on my docket because honestly my own insecurities about it.
Okay, that's fair.
Well, if it makes you feel any better, having it role played and read the threads with these female characters, you do a good job. I think that you are pretty good at sussing out what makes them tick, and you don't dive off the deep end of the super tropes. So I've never read anything like that that's been like, oh, well, this person clearly has no idea what they're doing here.
Yeah.
Let me sit you down and educate you.
Well, thank you for that. I still have crippling self-anxiety about it, but thank you.
With the last, I'm gonna do this again. With the last 15, 16 years that we've been experiencing what it is to be a part of all of these different points of views for stories and moderators and GMs and sites. Was there any storylines or anything that jump out at you that you would immediately jump back into if it were, brought up again on any of the sites in the forum verse?
Yeah, there's a couple that I feel like I would really jump into. I feel like we never really got a satisfying ending to Evolution because of Paradigm ending, the way it didn't kind of ending with a sputter. I felt like there was a lot of buildup happening around Evolution that we just never got the payoff for. Through no fault of Adams, it was just the site was done. In the same token, I would not mind revisiting Wrath and Win a little bit more if given the opportunity. Because again, I felt like I never got like a really satisfying ending with that. On 552, no, there was no plot line I would want to revisit from old 552.
It's fair.
On 259 Cabal, I would say I would say this is why I'm much more interested in what's going on in the old world than the new world. Nothing in the new world has really grabbed me, but the old world is kind of giving us a chance to continue with these plot threads that we were kind of in the middle of, both on Prime and on Second. Even if it's not mine, like I'm actually really interested in seeing Evelyn, Kane, and Kaya's attempts of godhood and their journeys on that, and I'm really excited to be able to be a part of that. Even if it's going to be more on the GM side for it. As for my own characters and their storyline, Blake's got to find his monster form, man.
Yeah.
Blake finally made peace with the fucking voices in his head and the evil monster that has been a painful transformation and has been the thing that he has feared and hated about himself. He finally makes peace with it, and now he's been separated for 8 years.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's gotta be rough. I mean, that was a long time for him.
And I mean, no disrespect to like the new world, but like that it just doesn't hold a candle to the emotional investment that I've already got in this stuff. This is where my heart is on Cabal, is on the old world with the gods and Camelot, Eatlin, Aurora. These things that we spent so much time building up, creating these territories as player characters, even.
Yeah.
Coming up with history and NPCs, and in the case of Aurora and Dirt, literally building them from the ground up.
Yeah, Dirt had nothing. That's why it's called Dirt.
Yeah, Aurora, you got pretty far with Aurora. You made a new slot in being one of the big four. It became the big five instead.
Yeah, I mean, that was a huge accomplishment, and I'm really sad that I'm not going to have a chance for Blake to learn to be better politically in talking. Dealing with the big four, I had been really looking forward to that, but with the direction that the site went, that's just out of the question, really.
Yeah.
How so?
I killed the big four.
That would do it.
Leon, push the big red don't push button.
And just all their heads exploded at once.
Pretty much.
Well, I was
God,
looking.
no, almost everybody that was like one of the big people is dead.
Well, we should rephrase that. Technically, he did that for World 2. Blake's world, Blake pushed the button by bringing the castle down from the sky.
Yeah, that's true.
He'd fucking do it again. Listen, he'd do it again.
Oh, he would. He would.
On a technicality, the big four still live on Prime. World 2, they're all dead.
Yeah. But I meant with basically everyone's like, well, Zakumt is like wiped out completely, so Angelonia's not alive, is she?
No, she died while she was on the Ark.
Yeah.
Oh,
Well,
sorry,
Prime World.
Prime World, yeah, Prime World, Zakumt was wiped out. The territories were wiped out. The people, some of them are still alive. I would think Angelonia, as much as she's protected, like Val, fucking hero that he is. But I mean, it's a coin toss, really, if Angelonia lived.
But I mean, let's say that they're all alive. So Angeloni is probably in hiding / protective custody right now.
Mm-hmm.
Malice is basically Nappa from Dragon Ball Z at Bridge having the best day ever.
Yeah.
Blake and Aurora is basically holding the line of Gondor right now.
Yep.
And from my understanding, Asiv and Cabal is very much the same.
Yeah.
And Strike, from my understanding, is basically in hibernation because Adam's like, that's your NPC, I'm not playing it.
Yeah.
So, like, realistically, even if they're all alive, we're not fucking getting together for a summit.
Right. Adam, do you have any further conjecture?
Baseless conjecture.
Ooh.
Okay. How about top 3 characters that aren't your own?
Oh god, that's from all sites ever.
That's a lot of fucking characters.
I'm hitting you with the hard one.
God, that is a hard one.
There've been so many good ones.
Your fault for playing so many, dude.
No, he said that that's not my own.
Oh, that's not. Oh, never mind.
So I'm thinking about all of the sites I've been on,
hundreds.
and every RPer that I've been with, including all of the non-Shin boards.
It's possibly thousands.
Yeah,
Sometimes you gotta just go with your gut.
Do it. Do it, no balls.
Well, you see, that's hard because I have favorites for very different reasons, and some of them are not good characters. And I don't mean like in a, like I'm a good guy, bad guy sense.
Like they're just not badly ass written.
One character from
Wait.
each board.
Is it Hyo Lee?
No, it is never going to be Hyoli ever. But like for instance, and he's not going to make the top 3 list. But for instance, I really liked from Paradigm Jackson. I really liked Jackson. Jackson was a terrible character. Do not make a character like Jackson. I liked Jackson kind of ironically, but then it became not ironic. Around the time that we did the parody of Monkey Jackson.
Oh man.
The guy punched a nuke. I mean, don't make Jackson. Ever.
Don't make Jackson, but also respect the fact that he did that, because someone has to.
Yeah, somebody's got to punch a nuke.
There must always be one Jackson.
Thankfully, only one.
So, let's see. From Paradigm... Oh, okay. So, from 552. Let's go there. From 552, I would say my favorite character that is not mine is Wyatt.
Oh, yeah.
That's a fair one.
Wyatt was fantastic. From Paradigm, my favorite character that is not my own is probably Rebecca for the same reasons that we were talking about during your interview, Muse. That I feel like you really did capture her feeling like a normal person, in a way that I am really envious of for my own characters. So she is one that I do really think fondly about. I'm gonna be a dick about this because I'm gonna count the reboots of 259 a bit differently. Because they're pretty much different sites completely. From like the old World War that Marcus was around, and then the Cabal shit that's happening now. They're essentially different sites. It's just the same URL.
That's fair.
So from the old 259,
Is it the aliens?
no, but it is from that version of 259. I am actually going to say I really liked Leon at that point. I think that was the best Leon that we had. I'm going to be real. I don't like the Sudeki clan that much. I think way too much is put onto it. I think my favorite Leon was the Leon that was trying to prove himself and to be his own legacy.
Yeah.
So to me, that is the best incarnation of Leon. And at that point in time, Leon had so much development, had so much confidence in what he was, and he wasn't yet like feeling broken like a lot of the way you kind of portrayed him on Cabal was.
Yeah.
That I think that was like really top tier Leon, and just the amount of development that he had, I think puts him above a lot of the other characters that I also really fucking liked from that time period. Shout outs to Bastille, Alessa, Marcus, Delilah.
Yeah, Delilah.
Yeah.
Never unfettered. Can never vote for Nazi
Aww.
principle. It proved true in Danganronpa, but you don't fucking go with people that dress like fascists. It proved true again. In Cabal, this is a bit of a cop out, I think. But honestly, it's a tie. And it's not even anything that they've really done. It's because I'm excited to see how it goes, and they get me excited for the potential. It is a tie of Kane and Kaya. I am really invested in seeing how this plays out. I am so excited to see like these characters are wanting to do something. They're wanting to, take these titles, but they're also aiming for like lower tier titles. They're not like, I want to be Zeus, I want to be Odin, I want to be Ra. They're like, we want to be Deimos and Phobos.
Yeah.
Like we just want to be like these fucking like sidekick level gods. And that is so fucking interesting to me, and I am so excited about that because people always want to be like the best, the king, the queen, and I'm like, I'm fucking hyped about this. Like it is the plot line of other characters that are not my own that I am the most invested in reading.
It's kind of like why that movie El Dorado was so good, because you're not seeing it from the point of view of the hero, you're seeing it from the point of view of the comedic relief side character.
Yeah, no, exactly. And so but I can't choose either one of them because really the struggle is kind of apparent. It's a dynamic between both of them that makes it so fucking sweet to read. Is this rivalry and this competition?
Cool. Well, I appreciate that. Even though that question was not meant to just, like, hey, Ryan, show some love.
If I was gonna try and just appeal to your vanity, I would have just given the easy one that everyone gives. Be like, oh, Jack was pretty good.
Yeah.
Oh, I guess Paradigm. I need to pick Paradigm. Oh wait, no, I did. That was Rebecca.
Yep.
Yeah.
And if it makes you feel better, Lee in chat says, "Hey, we made it."
Lee, you were already there.
Ooh.
Ooh. Smooth like butter.
Want to hit that Nicolas Cage? That's high praise.
Senpai noticed you.
Now, of course, it being Kane and Kaya part of the plus factor as well as the competition is the fact that they noticed both of you. The competition just got stronger.
I don't think either of their stories would be as interesting without the other one driving them and pushing them forward.
True.
It's a nice duality.
Yeah, I think that's something that is kind of difficult to express to a new person. Is you got to find somebody in an in-character / out-of-character point of view to be your rival, somebody that you need to push yourself to be competing with, and somebody that your character needs to push themselves to be competing with. It doesn't matter at what capacity the competition is, as long as there is some competition, because it always pushes the character and the writer into new territories and just advancements. Personal opinion.
No, I totally agree.
It's definitely very different. I feel like, case in point, Matthew losing an arm, Blake losing his, his entire identity basically in his home.
Mm-hmm.
Like, without those factors, where would they be?
Yeah, I love the surprise that kind of exploded in the chat box when we had that during the final battle with Barker, when I revealed Barker's stats were like somewhat on par with Matthew's, so it was an easy one-on-one thing, because Barker was never meant to be like the physically overbearing person. He was the hidden scientist who fucking actually had a plan work and got close to conquering the world.
People were really surprised that when that happened. They're like, "Oh my god, he might actually be able to do this."
Oh fuck. Yeah.
And I did.
And it's just like you gotta, and I think that's the same with the success that Jimothy had. He wasn't the physically overbearing person. He plotted and made alliances, and there was a lot of the politics and stuff. Like, you don't have to be the strongest character on the board to distinguish yourself. It helps. It really helps, but you can make your own kind of legend any way you really want to.
There are niches to fill that people neglect.
Oh yeah.
There's something to be said about the chess mastermind character that manipulates everybody.
Also, just like, it's not a question, but just as a shout out, I will always, every time, forever, love the trope of, you guys go on ahead, I'll hold them off here. Keeps going. You guys go on ahead. This one's mine. As the group dwindles going further,
Yeah.
I will always lean into that trope if given the opportunity, whether I am the one that's going to be at the end fighting the boss, or if I get to have the opportunity to be like, you guys go on ahead. This one's mine. Fucking love that trope. That trope needs to be used more often. But it needs to be given some meaning too.
Yeah.
I've tried, so I have a difficulty causing that to happen. I've tried to cause it. I really have. With some of the Barker facilities where I was trying to make it seem time constrained, but everyone stuck together and did their own thing. So there was a lot of stuff that I had to like delete or not use because time had run out. And I didn't.
I mean, it worked in the final showdown. That's literally what happened there.
Yeah. Like in the end, I figured it out because I wasn't expressing correctly the seriousness of how long it was taking. But there in the final battle, I was like, oh yeah, if y'all don't do anything at this point, you'll never have another chance.
Like it almost feels like you have to have the cooperation of the players almost to like to have the guaranteed chance of that happening. Like if the characters are on board, like if the players are on board with, oh yeah, no, we'll divvy this out. It's like, yeah, it totally will happen.
Yeah. That group lean.
Yeah. Yeah, like for that one battle with the Barker forces, it was Blake, Matthew, or not Blake, sorry, David Blaze, Matthew, and Marcus. And they literally walked up, saw the boss, was like, "Oh, we're doing this now. Okay, yep, divvy it out. You get that guy, you get that guy, I get this guy. Sweet, go."
It helps that our characters were also trope aware.
Oh, so trope aware.
What fourth wall?
Maximum effort.
So you've mentioned it a little bit here and there in response to questions. Go through a typical rundown of creating a new character for a board for us.
Yeah, I mean, do you want me to like give you an example with an existing character, or do you want me to just like make a new character right now?
Use one that we've already got. That way, if anyone that is watching wants to take a look and pull it up, they can see what the end product was.
All right, cool. So, the punk. The punk was a response because characters were getting along, people are generally respectful, even the bad guys are like all kind of anti-heroes, and everyone's super tough. So, the punk is the opposite of all of that stuff. The punk is a coward. The punk is about fighting smart, not hard, not strong. It is about outthinking your opponents because your enemies are a bunch of fucking losers and dumbasses. The punk only has respect for himself, and the punk only really cares for himself. He is sexist. He is racist. He is misogynistic. The highlight that I had that I built the whole character around is I wanted to lean into a lot of the tropes of the main character from Desert Punk, but I had a list of 100 different words or phrases to describe breasts. And my challenge to myself was to go through that entire list when speaking to female characters before I could repeat any of them.
Oh, you would too, yep.
And to just be okay with being disrespectful and terrible and leaning into all of that, but also trying to build this character to be competent so that people would have no choice but to deal with them. Not because he's a player character, but because they needed him. So we just talked about Matthew, Leon, Marcus, David Blaze, the four of them, four of the strongest people on the site, and they took down a Barker facility on their own, which is pretty fucking badass, right, Marcus?
Mm-hmm.
Punk took one out on his own, solo, with starter character stats. Because he was smart. He prepared. He got gear. I did a bunch of quest threads where I was like getting items that didn't have stats, and it was shits that I made respirator and things like that. And then he went to the underground facility, got into the computer systems, he sealed it off, crawled through the vents because he's a small guy, not a tough, manly, big dude. Like, he's fucking tiny. And he got into the air vents there in the air circulation area, and he broke open capsules that he had brought of bleach and ammonia, and he basically just gassed the fucking base and waited in the vents with a respirator on until everyone was dead, and then he looted the place.
Oh, good lord.
So where it took the four strongest people to go through a similar base and fucking take it down, he did it on his own and got all of the loot and everything. And that was his thing. That was the kind of stuff that he did. It was every problem can be solved intelligently in a way that's not going to really put me in danger. And a lot of people, they have a lot of biases against him because he's so terrible. David Corey, was talking about, Punk. Oh, well, Punk probably rapes. Punk probably does this stuff. I'm like, no, Punk 100% will never rape anyone because that could result in his bodily injury. Not because it's wrong, not because he respects anyone, but because he could get hurt. They could fight back. And so his whole character was around being selfish and being a coward. He will never do anything brave. He will never rise to the occasion. He will cheat. He will steal. He will lie. Because the core theme of him at the end is I'm the only thing that matters. And so I just built him off of that with that in mind, to make him deliberately the most despicable person I could.
I distinctly remember Punk showing up in Crow territory at one point, and everybody, like, I was sitting back kind of watching and laughing, but everyone else was just literally trying everything they could to get your character killed off so hard.
Yeah, he made like a bunch of really sexist remarks to Delilah, and everyone like rose to the occasion, and they couldn't fucking do it because he had so many backup plans. Like, he had a fucking wind, so he could just fucking like whoop, fly out of there type thing, or he had fucking decoys that he could like fucking inflatable decoys like throw up and like waste your guys' fucking energy.
Yeah.
Smoke bombs, he had prepared, and he was just like, and he wasn't afraid to fucking run and hide and be a bitch. Everyone was.
I think at one point you even like commandeered a truck and tried to drive a oil tanker through the territory at some point. I remember.
Yeah.
But
I mean, this is an environment where everyone's like, no, we're gonna fight this out, and we're gonna be tough macho people. So I subverted that, and I was like, no, my guy's a coward. He will beg, cheat, steal, and he will grovel and piss himself, to disarm you, and then fucking throw sand in your eyes and shank you.
pocket sand.
Like, he's got no dignity. Because you know what dignity gets you, right? Gets you getting stabbed in the gut by a guy that just pissed himself. That's what dignity gets you.
Yup.
You put that on his tombstone.
Is he still alive?
Yeah, he actually runs Territory 1. So Territory 1 on the old world is like the hub of a black market. You can pretty much find anything there. Slaves, rare fucking chi artifacts, ingredients, things from other continents that are generally inaccessible. You can get there. He runs it. He built it out of the old underground facility that he took over, and a water supply in what became a blasted desert wasteland. So it's a walled city, and his chi allows the old technology from the old world to work. So it was never taken over because from the military installations that he like helped take over, they have like legit anti-aircraft fucking guns, like 50 caliber fucking rounds and shit.
Yeah.
On their walls that work. Matthew was really tough. Matthew was not take like 100 fucking 50 caliber rounds in a minute tough. So he became a sovereign independent nation. And it's a nation of like merchants and it's like Mos Eisley. It's a fucking hive of villainy and scum. And he runs it with his harem that he definitely pays for. Because there are enough people out there that are willing to do whatever for money and water in a desert. So that's another thing. Like, he has no problem paying for it. He's got no shame. He knows that the girls don't like him. He doesn't care. He doesn't fucking care. And then he's got the 20 of one. He's got 20 fucking bastards running around. The 20 heirs of one. And they're all ranked in a hierarchy based on what he feels about them and their competencies. One of Joy's characters is actually one of those 20. Tina Bennett. She has chi that makes explosions and also can make them nuclear. Because fuck you. Her ultimate ability is a fart.
It's true. It's a silent but deadly.
Yeah. It causes internal damage. It bypasses all defenses like a round or two later, and then explodes inside of you after she lets it rip. That's her ultimate.
Good God.
One of the other high-ranking ones, she kind of has like cards that she can like put things into, kind of like card captor Sakura, but like anything. And she's like one of the big diplomats. So she goes around with a deck of cards, some with locations that she can like open up a portal to. Others would like say the card is a fucking chest full of gold coins. But when she activates it, the card becomes blank and that chest full of gold coins is in front of you. There's your payment. So she can basically smuggle things and travel around. And they're all of them except for one are shitty people. the one that's a nice, actual good guy, he's ranked 20. He's the lowest on the totem pole because he's a fucking loser. He's an old Western style sharpshooter. Kale, I made him because I wanted to have Kenshiro from Fist of the North Star, but I wanted him to be like a giant teddy bear. So it was all about making him as big and scary and like as strong as I could in gaming the system, but making him like the sweetest person ever.
Oh my god, he's Gonta.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what we were saying when we met Gonta. It was like, oh my god, it's Kale. Yeah, he's Gonta.
And going back
A
to
little
his
bit smarter.
yeah, and going back to his explanation from before, the joke is he's a social justice warrior.
Yeah, the social justice road warrior. Most of his powers are only activated and can only be activated when he's like defending someone weaker than him, when he's outnumbered, when him and his allies are outnumbered. So like he can't use it in a fair fight. He just does not have access to it. Only if a female character does something that's really cool, can he activate this power? Things like that. So it was all about diversity and friendship. But he also rolled really well with the gamble fruit, so he's also just got a gravity punch that he can use.
Can literally turn it into a blood mist.
Yeah, he literally turns like your weight, into an attack modifier for this punch. If it hits. So if he misses, he doesn't expend it. So like he fought like a giant fucking monster and he just punched it, and we mathed it out and the thing weighed like several tons, so the attack of that punch was very big. And so he just died. But then he's like super fucking friendly and nice. All about power of friendship.
The power of friendship trait.
So who was your favorite, I guess, quest character in, I guess, the 3 primary boards, and why?
I never had one on 552 because their quest characters sucked.
Yeah, fair enough.
Yeah, can't argue.
Paradigm. I would say it's a toss-up between either evolution or life. I would probably give it to evolution because we saw more with evolution, but I thought life was a really interesting arc, and thus that quest character was really fascinating with the idea of what it was trying to do. On 259, it's Barker. I fucking loved Barker. That's why I liked Barker so much that after he died, I went back to hell to bring him back. And I like Barker even more when he was on Matthew's side and fucking like domestic Barker with his fucking pink frilly apron and shit. Like, fucking chef's kiss.
Having to remake sandwiches because you said no poison.
Yeah. And I love that, that was something that we never discussed, that he would poison the sandwiches. It was just rolling with it. And like, yeah, absolutely. Goes fucking remake. And Evelyn's just like, wait, what?
Uncle Barker's a psychopath?
So can't wait
She
for
would've
Marcus
never
to find
known.
out about that.
I mean, Marcus would at least know that Matthew resurrected Barker, because remember, he announced that in that big meeting with all the faction leaders. He brought Barker back and said Barker was working for him now. Barker lives with him.
Yeah.
He's lived with him for decades at this point. Even before Marcus went missing, like when we had the babies, Barker was living there with them. He was like their babysitter.
Okay, I'll have to keep that in mind then, because I didn't realize that's what the timeline was.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. No, before Barker, like when Marcus was still around, Barker was absolutely living with Matthew and being the babysitter for the twins and all of that.
Dear God.
Yeah. He was a 6.
Yeah, so Evelyn grew up with Matthew, Bastille, and Barker and Leon as her kind of parental adult figures of raising.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Anyway, sorry, Muse, I interrupted you on a thing.
Oh no, I was just
I
saying.
think that was actually my question.
Oh.
So it's you're good, Leon. I'm saying that answered my question.
Oh, okay. No, I was just saying that Barker was a 6-year-long antagonist that ended up being just a PNPC in the end. Which
Listen, he makes amazing baked goods. It's
is
okay.
yeah,
It's better than him just dying and being forgotten.
that's true. It's an interesting outcome that I don't think we would have got from any other kind of character really.
I mean, by that point, they had a really long, complicated relationship.
That's fair. Went to the wedding, brought gifts.
He specifically invited Barker. Specifically, he got an invite with a +1.
Yeah.
Marcus didn't get a +1. Marcus just got an invite.
Yeah. Marcus wouldn't know who to take with him anyway.
His bike.
Right?
Good point. I still
Just
love the fact
written
that
in on
Marcus.
lady.
Sorry, go ahead.
I said, could just write it in on lady, yeah.
Oh, damn, I should have done that. I think I just had him literally just walk in, sit down, and just be like, okay, I'm at a wedding.
My favorite part of the whole wedding was this: that me and staff had agreed that the invitations are literally going to spell out that gifts are mandatory, that you will be checked at the door.
I think the best part
Happy.
about the wedding was that it happened during an apocalypse.
Yeah.
Who has time
I mean,
for weddings and formal events? Oh, I guess the PCs do.
I mean, you gotta make the good times count.
It's true. We've been asking questions from the player's point of view, but you've also been staff/a GM for a long time as well.
Since 552.
So my
Leon?
well, yeah,
I was Jack of Diamonds.
yeah, that makes sense.
I was one of those fucking card people that led to the whole drama.
Great. So my first question in the out of character portion of it, going into being a staff member, was there any kind of staff drama that turned you off for a while and made you sort of do that step back where you're like, okay, I need to reevaluate how I'm going to operate as a staff member?
Do you really want me to answer that question?
Yeah, go ahead.
I'm like, how much
It's
time do we
fine.
have?
That's going to be definitely the fucking 259 thing with like the major staff Exodius, the whole shit with Stu and all of that. That whole fucking mess.
Yeah, makes sense. I figured that was going to be the answer.
From a mod perspective, from a GM perspective, there are a couple of incidents that come to mind. But what it really boils down to in all of those incidents is a lot of like personal bitching and fucking passive aggressive stuff about what's happening to a character in the GM thread. It happened on Paradigm. It's happened on 259. And it really put me off GMing for a very long time. Especially like if I'm getting guilted and like being made to feel like this is a slight out of character, because I don't try to make it personal out of character.
Right.
I try to keep that separate, but when a few times different player characters throughout multiple sites have done this, it has just made me hate GMing. The players, the characters, and also role playing.
That's fair.
Because it just sucks all of the fun out of it. Because now I'm feeling like if I progress through what I feel is the logical conclusion of events, that I am being the bad guy out of character. I don't mind being the bad guy in character, but I really do try to be fair out of character. And yeah, so I mean that's happened a couple of times.
Yeah.
And again on multiple different boards. And it's rough. It really made me want to it made me put down GMing for years. I still get kind of anxious about it.
Yeah.
Even with people I know are in trust, even GMing for Adam right now, I still get that anxiety because I've had probably about 4 of these incidents that were just really big.
Yeah.
That have made me really just gun shy about it.
That's fair. And I honestly I blame 552 for, I guess, the way I was raised in RP. Because for the longest time, 552 didn't have griefing rules. Griefing was kind of just the way the society was on 552. And it's hard to go to a place where you had no GMing and everyone was griefing each other anyway, and then to go to somewhere where there was GMing with one person in control of a story and they legitimately can do whatever they want to do for that story, and not to feel like you're being griefed when things don't pan out. And I've seen that in other people when I was GMing things, and it even took me a long time to realize what was going on. That's how they felt, and really it took going to another website and experiencing the kind of staff relationship with the members there, where it was you got to put in a ticket in a post on their ticket board, and then a GM will get to you maybe within a month, or a staff member or whatnot, because they were held to such a higher power. And then to come back to the way that we do things, where everyone's just in one big fucking conversation, and the only way to know who's staff and who's who is with different colored names. But the evolution to get there through all of that out of character drama, taking that step back in the breath and going, oh, okay, this isn't a grief or personal kind of vendetta that this person has against me or whoever else. It's just, this is the way the story needs to go.
Yeah, I mean, in some of the cases, I mean, realistically, all of the cases, I really think that my logic was fair on it.
Yeah.
But again, it's just when someone is either harassing you on Discord or MSN or begging or any of that stuff,
yeah,
or threatening or crying, and it's just affecting them in that strong,
yeah,
in whatever direction out of character. It's just it's no longer fun. It's no longer a game. This is no longer a hobby. If I am making a grown adult cry or so mad that they are screaming or begging me to redo a post for 20 minutes,
yeah,
It kind of feels like it goes back to the idea of some people just really hate the idea of anything out of their control happening to their character. It just it's some, when you, especially when you enter a thread where it's established no shit's gonna happen to your character, and they still try to turn around and be like, oh, but I don't want this to happen. It's come on.
I think the largest freak out for something like that I think I saw was I was just trying to move a quest forward because I didn't want to take 6 months to finish. I just kind of went with the last post the person made, which was a round ago. It was they're still doing this, that's fine, nothing happens, moving on. And then that person jumped back on and was my character got shot in the head, never control my character, move on. And I was holy shit, what? Yeah, they were don't puppeteer my character ever again, and they quit the site. And I was what the fuck?
Wow.
I just
Yeah, the RPer is one of the 4 RPers that comes to mind that I had incidents with.
I was like, I just wanted to move the quests. What the fuck?
Oh my
Yeah.
gosh, I am so sorry, you two.
Yeah, there were a lot of. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Oh, you're good. It's just. Oh, I don't know. I think having gone through that stage and being over it fairly quickly of not my babies, it's just hard to imagine grown people being that freaked out over it. Like, obviously we can't. We've seen it. It's not that it's impossible, but it's just like, I don't know. I'm sorry, because to me, that would make almost pretty much anyone like anxious or dread GMing, especially if it's like, coming back from a break from it or being their first time doing it.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. No, it's super stressful. It sucks all of the enjoyment out of it, and not just that thread. It sticks with you
Oh yeah.
because we do this because it's why I also have a hard time GMing tabletop now. And I never had those experiences GMing a tabletop thing. I used to just be able to fucking pick up, give me your characters I've never seen it before, and let's fucking roll some D&D and make it up on the fly. It was perfect. Now I have fucking anxiety with a pre-made because of this shit, and it's all from forum role players. It's never been from anyone at like a D&D table. And I blame and I credit that a lot to the fucking dice on a D&D table. Like, listen, you roll 3 that one, sometimes shit just fucking happens.
Yeah.
And it's all transparent. It's all in front of everybody.
Yeah.
Even with the GM screen, it still really is all in front of everyone.
Yeah.
So, like, I've never had a freak out like that at a tabletop setting. It's only been on this forum space.
Yeah.
But it's made me fucking hate GMing a lot. And it's something I'm still trying to get over.
Yeah, that's fair. Every now and then, I'll have one of those moments where I'll stare at a post, and it really comes down to that's one of the major reasons it takes me so long to reply to you guys sometimes. Is I'll stare at a post and I was like, this has to happen. But like the last time I did anything like this, 259 died for months or whatnot, and like all of my friends kicked me out of the social circles, and I was like, don't know.
I hope I've never done that because of a GM thing. I know I left 259 for a while the last time, but that was all because of out of character stuff. I don't know how much you want me to air that here on the podcast.
I don't care. I was a shit person back then.
Oh no, I'm not. I'm talking about the recent thing. I'm talking about someone insulting my wife and never getting publicly insulting my wife, never apologizing to this day, never apologizing. Especially when it was, when we were told someone was going to handle it, and things like that. And then when nothing like that happened, and then this person just started mouthier and meaner and ruder to her, myself, and then other people that I consider friends, I was just like, fuck it. Like, the site's getting wiped. All of our thoughts are getting shot down by these mouthy people that are just being rude and insulting out of character. Like, I've got a brand new fucking job that I'm working 11 hours a day doing. I don't got time for this fucking shit.
Right.
So it wasn't about you doing GM shit. Yeah.
Yeah, we've never had a problem with you GMing.
You're one of my favorite GMs, Leon. Like,
group hug on Leon.
You, Adam, and Tyler are my 3 favorite GMs. I really want Lee to GM for me and Joy to GM for me because neither one of them's ever done it.
It has a really good payout when it happens. When you are able to tell the story that you want to tell and get the character to grow or complete something, and they express their happiness with the story and everything, it's fucking wonderful. But like back in the dark ages of 259, when I would post something and it favored one side over the other, or like the bad guys were too strong or something. It didn't matter what happened. I hurt somebody's character to like a broken leg or something dumb. Uh, and I would get messages. 23 MSN tabs open at one time, or like 16 Skype calls, and fucking I can't believe you did that, or you favorite this person because you talk all the time, or and I was like, no, this is just how it has to go down right now because it's what makes sense. And when something like that results in people quitting or leaving or taking them and their own friends and going off and making a failed spin-off, uh, like, while I can joke about it and be like, ah, ha, ha, you guys sucked because you couldn't make it, it did hit home enough that they were enraged. Because I made 259 because I was enraged about 552 and how it was handled.
Fuck Bonk, yeah.
Yeah, right, fuck Bonk. And it was squandering such great potential for real story. And it took me like a year to realize what the fuck real story was because of what happened with the dragons. That I was like, you know what, fuck this place. I'm gonna make my own site with blackjack and hookers. But I know how
Yeah, I've seen neither blackjack nor hookers on the site.
we had hookers. We did have hookers. We didn't have blackjack. Maybe we'll have a blackjack thread. But it's just the point that I was so angry at 552 and their staff and the way things went. Like even with Ryan and Celeste and Teal being on staff, who I consider all three friends of mine, I was still pissed at staff as a general concept on 552, which I know is now I know it was all bonk and Vips's shit, but seeing other people leave my site in the same headspace I feel I was in when I left 552, it does sting, like on a personal level.
That's fair.
So whenever I post something to GM for you guys or anyone really, there's always that thing in the back of my mind, like, should I post that? Like, are they gonna leave because I'm gonna post that?
I mean, if I didn't leave when you ripped off Matthew's, my main fucking character for 15 years, arm off at the shoulder.
Like, I was just looking at it, and it took me so long to post that. I was just staring at this post like, it's what he would do, and I don't want to kill Matthew, but somebody's got to take a hit.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's one of my favorite moments of Matthew's entire history.
I was sweating bullets when I posted that post.
Dude, I was sweating bullets that whole fucking fight. I was ready to die in that fight. I was like, I'm going to kill him, or he is going to kill me, or we're going to do Rocky-style double knockout. Like, I was fully ready for you to fucking, like, rip out my throat as I fucking puncture your heart. Fucking double kill.
Oh, yeah.
Would be pretty metal.
I mean, we've been known to do metal shit like that.
It is a thing.
Again, fucking going into the underworld, like, you were like, dude, you might die, and I'm like, well, let's fucking do it, and almost died.
I was stressed that whole thread. Like, I was like, I'm gonna piss off my best friend.
And I mean, you fucking ripped out Blake's fucking chi, and he's still 8 years in character later, still doesn't fucking have it back. I'm still hyped for Blake. The bad stuff happening to characters are often way more interesting than things going according to plan.
Right?
The difference is that if I don't trust the GM, then I do get angry. If I feel like the GM is like, this whole thing is so I can show off how cool my GM character is, how badass they are, I'm bitter, because a GM character should be, at the end of the day, it should be about making the player characters who are the stars, the star. You know, not saying that the GM character can't win, that there can't be throwbacks, but I mean, we've all been role playing long enough. I think we've all role played with GMs that have been like, yeah, but this GM character right here, this is my baby, and they are super strong, and nothing can beat them.
Fair enough.
And I hate that.
Mhm.
If it is my character made some bad choices, and I can see and understand the logic of that, or I bit off more than I can chew, I get that. That's fine. If it is this character, this GM character is basically just invincible. You know,
Yeah,
fuck you. I love this is my baby. I've played this GM character on 16 different sites over the past 3,000 years of the internet, and
Yeah.
nothing will ever harm them. Or it's a canon character of this fucking show, and like, not, you know, like, nothing bad can happen because they're a canon character or any of that various crap. So fuck that. But like,
yeah,
the
not
experience I've had with you, like in the underworld, ripping off the arm, losing the power, you know, I never really minded that. Like I did say, the things I just don't understand. Like, I don't understand why David Blaze had Evelyn's soul in a box
yeah, seems
after
random.
he was killed. I don't understand that. I don't understand that out of character.
Right.
And so I don't like it. I think that's stupid. I think that's like what? Like that I felt like that was just like that's inserted because I don't understand it.
Right.
It didn't feel earned. It just came out of like nowhere.
Why would David do that? So on and so forth.
Yeah, like it breaks immersion.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I'm not knocking Adam. I'm not knocking Paradigm. Do not take this as a knock.
I'm furious already.
I stepped away from Paradigm multiple times over my tenure, and it wasn't because it was a boring site. I liked Paradigm. I would have been on that bitch all the time because I was a player and it was fun as fuck. But I had to walk away a couple times because it felt like the staff characters were the invincible Halo Marines. You know, like I've killed 2 of them, and now the rest of them are so enraged that they'll never die.
Yeah,
The Dane squad specifically, the ones that killed Leon.
No, that was just weird. But I mean, I was like, okay. I mean, somebody has to die. I've already told the staff that they can kill my characters whenever if they needed shock value. It was annoying, but I mean, that wasn't an enraged moment.
Yeah, like I can't obviously speak for Tex Ryan and Tyler, but I know anytime that I had to have like a character live, I would try my best to kind of make it reasonable if it was for, you know, the future story, like to continue that arc. But I don't know, I'm sure at some point I, you know, pulled some GM bullshit. Because I think everybody does at some point.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, there's a degree of it. The problem is when you make the player character feel powerless, like as a player,
Yeah.
or like your choices don't matter.
Yeah.
Or worse, that this whole thread was a waste of time.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Like I think one of the things we talked about before is one of the things I really liked about 259 is it's all about, you know, being the hero of your own story. So like to me, GMing should be like, look how great you are for getting through this, rather than look how fucking dangerous this situation is. It's more about look what you've done in this situation and how cool you've become because of it.
I think that is when 259 Cabal is at its best.
Yeah.
And the plot threads that do interest me the most, they do tend to be more character focused. The Conqueror stuff I'm interested in, but I'm mostly interested in it because it's personal to Blake, not because the Conqueror is the main plot.
Yeah.
Now, that being said, I do have a question for you.
Eve?
For anyone who's considering GMing stuff that, whether they're scraping off the rust or new, what would you say is a key piece of advice that you could give them.
You're not the main character. Doesn't matter if this is your character that you've played for 15 years, like Matthew, for him being a GM character. When he's a GM character in these threads as Ares, he's not the main character. It doesn't matter if this is something that you just made up as a throwaway. You're not the main character. It really should be about telling the overall story of either the plot arc or the character's personal story and growth. But at the end of the day, it really should be highlighting the players and, like Adam said, making them feel cool. Because if the players aren't having fun, people are not going to be joining your threads. People are not going to be doing other events, and people will go roleplay elsewhere. I have done that on multiple sites where I've just fucking left because, like, clearly I can't tell the story I want to tell here. And again, it's not about always winning. Sometimes the failures and the drawbacks and the setbacks are so much better, but not when it feels arbitrary.
Oh, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, yeah, because it's like no one likes to like, hey, I got this really cool thing, and blah blah blah, and then the DM just kind of looks at you and goes, no, and slaps it out of your hand.
Yeah, not even a no but or no and. It's just no.
Yeah, it's just the flat. That flat no is the hardest thing to like deal with, and to move on from. Like, it will stick. You will think you're not affected by it, but it'll be like 2 threads later where you're back with that same GM, and you're like, ugh.
Yeah.
I mean, throughout my history, and again, my very long history of role playing on sites, many of which have had various forms of GM and various incarnations, I can 100% tell you that after a thread or two, I will learn if I like this GM or not, and it has nothing to do with if I win or not. And if I don't like them, I will avoid them.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Even to the detriment of my own character's like advancement, if it's a stat board or item board or some other weird leveling system board. Because let me tell you, there are some weird systems out there.
Yeah, there are.
I will avoid them because it's not fun. And yeah, it really should be fun for the character. There should be moments where they feel badass, especially on I would say Cabal or something like this, because it's such a combat focused board at its heart, which means that 90 to 95% of your characters are in some way going to be fighters. And if the whole thread is like, I flick you with my finger and that's it, you go fucking flying or some shit like that, that's boring. Like,
Yeah.
Dragon Ball Z. Beerus fucking comes down and whoops the shit out of all of the Z fighters. And you're like, wow, Beerus is fucking badass. But you know what? Goku gets to fucking fight him. And then wins. And that's fucking sweet. Or fucking the Namek saga. I loved Vegeta fucking just like, and them dealing with the Ginyu Force.
Mm-hmm.
And watching that. Like, fucking great. It was hard. They got their asses kicked. But they beat every one of the Ginyu Force.
Yeah.
I think that would be my big advice. Is just like, remember that eventually you guys just lose. That's how the story goes. Is you don't beat the heroes.
You're the antagonist.
Even on hell, even as a player character, that was my mindset with Matthew when he was originally an antagonist. Is that my goal is I'm going to win right now because I want to show that I am strong and I am a threat. But at the end, I do need to lose. Teal had to beat me at the end because Teal was the hero. I'm the villain.
Yeah.
And I think going back to like one of the first questions, I think that's when Jimothy confronted Faust and stood his ground in front of everyone like that. I think that's why Faust fucking backed down. I think Faust Ryan understood. Jimothy is the hero. I'm the villain. If the villain wins, then the story's done.
Yeah.
And also, if that is the case, and I'm not just pulling it out of my ass, mad respect to Faust Ryan for understanding that concept at 15.
Yeah.
As a writer, like, my dude.
For a lot of the antagonists on OG 552, I feel like there was I don't know if it was like a conscious understanding, but I feel like there was like a instinctual understanding of that's how a story plays out because we had to have our own story. Um, I don't really have good advice for GMing or getting back into it or anything like that. It's really just communication between yourself as the GM and the players. Tell them about what the conflict is, feel out what they're trying to do, give them some of it along the way as you progress. Take some of it out, give it back, but by the end of it, they should have all of it, or at least enough of it to ask a question like, where does this go? And then you can push them into the next portion of the story.
Yeah, I feel like whether the player character wins or loses in any given GM event, quote unquote win or loses, TM patent pending,
Right.
the player character should always, if they didn't fucking die from it because they did, and I feel like deaths should really generally be because they did something like just profoundly dumb.
Oh yeah.
And I don't necessarily mean like they attack someone that's too strong. I mean, fucking Pride, Joy, Thorn, and Stigma went up against the Conqueror, and we pulled some clever shit out of our ass, and we lived. And so we were stranded on the old world, but we lived.
Yeah.
But the thread, no matter who wins, it should result in the player character feeling like they advanced enough to either move forward on their goal or to be shown a new alternative goal should that original goal be out of reach forever. Case being, like, for instance, the God rights. I will be full disclosure, and I will tell everyone repeatedly that if you go for a God right and you take that trial and you fail it, that character will never be a god. Ever. They might become a monster. They might become a hero. There are other avenues, but, like, that specific thing is blocked because I feel that it gets devalued if you're able to just, like, have infinite rerolls and, like, I'll get it eventually.
Yeah.
But if Cain had failed his god test, I would have tried to end it in a way to show that his dream doesn't have to be over. He probably would have been picked up by a hero, and it would have been something like, believe it or not, I know what you're going through. I failed my right about 5 years ago, and I was pissed, but, it was kind of like I found my calling elsewhere. Or something along those lines that's probably less cheesy sounding, but
Yeah.
I wouldn't have just left Cain there fucking broken and like, you're a loser.
Come join the losers club.
Know your place, trash.
Not only that, but you're the lowest rung on the ladder of losers.
Well, that's also
Yeah,
another
because like
thing.
that's not interesting. Like if Cain just failed, become a god, can never become a god, and like later loser, well then Cain, that was his whole purpose as a character. At that point, Adam's just like, well, this character's fucking dumb then, I guess.
Yeah.
Damn the prestige.
To be fair, though, stuff like that can create like a cool spite determination thing. It's like, oh, I'm now fueled by spite. I will do another thing instead.
Yeah.
It can, but not always.
Yeah, not everyone kind of has that.
Yeah, that goes back. Go ahead.
Oh, I was saying, if that's the route they go down, then that's another avenue. Whereas the GM, it sounds like in this case, gave you more options rather than, hard pass, fail, do not collect $200, do not pass, go straight to jail.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that was gonna be another point I guess I was gonna want to make was if you do take something away from the player and their character, give them something else. Don't just like, oh, well, I instantaneously killed your character because you did something fucking retarded. So now we're gonna go and move on to this other character who's doing interesting things.
We should probably not use the R word and just just something stupid, idiotic.
Oh, fair enough. My bad. I apologize. Yeah, you do something stupid, I might instantaneously kill you, but that's not going to be the end. I'm going to give you an avenue, an out, or something because I took something away from you. I'm going to give you something. Like with Matthew's arm, I think we made this really kick-ass rock arm thing. There was downsides to it, but I think the upsides were way better, honestly.
I spent months working on that arm to get him comfortable with it, like him writing and working on dexterity, but at the end it became such a cool part of his character.
Yeah, like if you're going to take something, like I'm saying, if you're going to take something away from the character or a portion of the story that the character is trying for, give them something else. Get as close to what they wanted as possible. But then also, I guess I'll segue into the second half of the question that I was going to ask. Since we went over the bad portions of staffing, what's the most enjoyable part of staffing / GMing for you?
Honestly, when a player character tells me how much fucking fun they had with that thread and how excited they are for like a follow-up or something.
Oh yeah.
Or hearing, or when like someone requests me specifically because they trust me as a GM. Like that's really fulfilling, and you know it soothes my anxious soul.
Feel that.
That positive reinforcement is nice because often we either get no feedback or it's the fucking negative feedback.
Oh yeah.
As for like rank and file staff work, there is no good side to it. It's basically a job you don't get paid for. Reading bios is terrible. I hate it. It is the worst on every site I've ever been to GM for or staff member for. It's not that. Some of the writers are good. Some of the writers are bad. Some of the characters are interesting. Some of them are not. It is all terrible, soul-crushing, boring work.
It is.
It's a never-ending line of paperwork.
I don't know how
I
I've
think
done
the worst part is if you go into it and like you can tell the person has not read any of the rules or anything, and you're like, oh, you're gonna have to just remake this bio. Like, I can't salvage this.
Like, as much as I skim a bio and I notice that you didn't read anything, that is bad.
Yeah. Also, balancing work is fucking terrible. I hate, like, and I use 259 Cabal for it just because it's got fucking powers with math.
Yeah.
I hate talking to Leon, and Leon's like, this is the fucking kind of idea that you should go for. And I'm looking at a bio, and I see, Leon or Rye or Corey fucking approves of shit. I'm like, what the fuck is that? And I'm sure, and I list them and not myself, but I'm sure all of them could point to ones I had approved and did the same thing because we all do it.
Oh yeah.
And I'm like, what the fuck?
Yeah. These powers are completely, utterly bullshit. Who's done this?
Or fucking items and some of their powers or stats. I'm like, why the fuck is this like tier 1 thing giving like a god tier item? What the hell are you smoking?
I still do.
But again, we've all done that too.
Yeah.
I don't point to any of my stuff because in my head, obviously I had reasons to justify this. But everyone else, like, dude, you guys are fucking idiots. What the fuck?
God, you catch me in the moment, and I'll make something or approve something that's just fucking retarded or stupid.
Ridiculous.
It's like, why?
Like the next day, the very next day, could be an hour even, I will relook at it and be like, what? Why? No.
So, yeah. And it's really bad. And when you're doing like 10 at a time, like you've let the shit pile up until it all starts like blurring together, and you forget what balanced numbers look like.
When you have to reread the rules you wrote.
Yeah. Less paradigm for that since it was fully PvE, everyone's on a team. If something was unbalanced, you could just like buff other characters and like help them learn new things to do with their powers, since none of it was math.
Yeah.
You know, Win has super strength as a troll. John Alcott has super strength.
Yeah.
If they punch each other's fist, who is stronger?
Mm.
Who's GMing? What's the context of the thread? Because either one will win depending.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I think that's where I fail sometimes. Is I'll see something, I'll watch an anime or read a manga or play a video game, and I'll see something like, that's amazing. This is what that ability is, and then I'll throw it into 259 somewhere, thinking that yeah, they're gonna use it against the next boss, and then I get a PM or a message over Discord. It's like, hey, did you give this person this thing? I was like, yeah, why? Because they just used it against me in a fight. Oh.
Oh yeah, there's PvP here.
Yeah. And admittedly, like I said, we've all fucking done that in our tenure of 259. And I pick on the current staff because they're around, but I mean, even before Cabal, you know, Stu, Ali,
Yeah.
Unfettered, we all did it.
Same.
I take pride in breaking every system.
It is fun. It is fun.
Oh yeah, we'd just invade a site and be like, we're gonna abuse this system until you remake it.
Hope you didn't have any plans.
Fucking conquerors.
Yeah, man. I still
Listen,
love.
there's something really edifying and just like satisfying about going to a site, starting fresh, and just taking over. That's why when I joined the Dragon Ball site, I only told Leon who I was, and I didn't tell anyone else. And like,
Oh my God, Limax was so cool.
Limax was so much fun,
He was pretty
and
sick.
it was really interesting and funny to see like some of the comments that people would make when they didn't know it was me.
Ah, man, trying to keep that secret was hard. Because somebody would say something, and I'd be like, but yeah, I'll. You're right.
I remember that too, having to be like, nah, no, Limax doesn't have Discord, you know.
Yeah, that was fun. I liked Limax. That was a character I wish I could have played more.
Yeah. Well, I'm sad.
I miss Wasabi too. That was a good guy.
Oh yeah.
Right.
He jumps on Discord every now and then, but like, I'm sad that I can't. I don't know, balance things into a thing that I really can be proud of until the site's dead or nobody's ever joined the site, and I'm like, no, this is the greatest system I've ever made. And it's mostly probably because nobody plays it and shown me the flaws, but it's like, which is my question. Are there any systems that you've made that you are super proud of or enjoyed the most?
No, because I don't really make systems. I just break them.
You evil.
That being said, if you want, I will say old 259 Barker War, best 259 version, best chi, best items and stats, best environment.
How did you feel about the sphere of influence, honestly?
So the sphere of influence, like, you mean the politics side, or like how far your chi can go?
No, the map, the battle map.
I like the battle map. I liked having like fucking set objectives that I'm like, I want to take this spot here. I want to take this spot here. I want to shore up this. I really liked it. I would be so excited if that was brought back, at least just for Aurora, with fucking territory around Aurora of the what used to be their lands, that's now fucking Conqueror lands to retake.
Oh, I am building a battle map for sphere of influence stuff for the old world because that's gonna be the kind of story I'm gonna be pushing.
So I mean, I'm hyped for that. I'm a little distressed in that I've got characters on multiple factions, so I'm going to be fighting against myself on that a bit, but I'm hyped.
Go ahead and say that out loud, Adam.
Oh, it's really late for me, so I'm going to bed.
Oh,
But
I will show it on screen.
Love you, Adam.
It's just like put the spotlight right on them.
guys, please, please.
Adam,
as
I love you and Lisa both
Yes.
very much.
You guys
I
are
love you
awesome.
too.
And thank you for coming in and co-hosting, and thank you for watching and just being awesome people.
I was just typing it because I didn't want to derail this interview, but now that it's all about me, bye.
Good night, dude.
Good night.
Night.
Fantastic.
Yeah, so I don't really make a lot of systems, but I did like the tier. I did like the sphere of influence system. I liked it a lot. Again, it was nice, a nice visual aid for me to pick out. I want to go here and why.
Yeah. Along with the systems question, I guess. Was there a well? No. I had to ask about the chi first. Which chi system was it? Was it the beginner, intermediate, advanced, master, or was it the one after that?
I think it was like the one after that, but also the beginner, intermediate, advanced, master. The levels I feel get really restrictive,
Mhm.
and it's really hard for me to not break it because I feel like there is a very good optimal way that I have figured out how to do this.
Mm.
That I can make all of my characters really strong. And because there is a very clear, to me, mathematical way to do this, taking suboptimal things, like I did with Preston, for instance, felt like I was really gimping my characters in a way that was, one, hindering me in player versus player fights, but also in GM fights, unless a very specific situation came up for one of my, like, unique abilities.
That's fair.
So, like I'm just gonna say it. For instance, Kale.
Yeah,
Kale is built so good, Leon,
I know.
and I know that the power gamer in me, I should build every one of my characters. I've got so much UP for Killian. I should give Killian chi like Kale's, but without the social modifiers of like only these situations need to happen, and just the statistical modifiers, because I would be so strong, and that would mean I would do better in events, and that means I would get better rewards in events, and that means I would progress with the story I have in my head easier because I would be winning those events. But I don't want to do that because I think that would be a disservice to Killian. But it is really hard to do that when there is, I feel, such a very clear mathematical approach to optimize your character.
Yeah, min-maxing. Yeah, I find that it's hard for me to do that with like QCs or important NPCs, not to give them like just 3 or 4 abilities that just make them unbeatable.
And that's where I like the older systems because you didn't have these like they didn't really boost your stats. They were more creative outlets. Your stats were really still just your stats, like your energy or your charisma. That was just your chi attack, baby. Period.
Mm-hmm.
That was all of its stats. So like having like all of these different ways that Matthew would manipulate the Earth, it allowed me to be a lot more creative without having to be like, okay, well, can I do this? Well, I've got to track this resource, and I should stack this buff with this buff and this buff. But I mean, obviously I'm working with this system, and I've made some really OP characters with this system. But that is why I prefer some of the older ones because I didn't have to contend with that min max part of me.
Yeah.
Because there is definitely a min max in me. I like to make interesting characters, but I will admit I always do look at optimization guides for D&D characters. I don't always follow them, but I do always look at them.
Right. Yeah, so the system you're talking about was the one after the beginner, intermediate, advanced, blah blah blah, where it was just the chi description and if it had stat boosts, here are the stat boosts, and that's it. Which was it was a good system. It worked for what it needed to be. This new one kind of evolved from playing Pokemon, and I guess rewatching Yu Yu Hakusho and Bleach and all that, and seeing and Dragon Ball Z really, and seeing like all these different techniques and chi waves and abilities, and I'm like, man, this one character like Master Roshi, for example, one character, hundreds of different ways to, use attacks or techniques or whatnot, and you basically throw a character on 259 and they're this niche, uh, molding Earth. While yeah, you can be really creative with it and have all these different kinds of attacks, uh, you were still only going to be using Earth or metal or whatnot. Uh, but with like a Yu Yu Hakusho or Dragon Ball Z approach to it, we're not going to allow you to like shoot a beam of energy at the moon and blow it up. But surely you can make a cage of electricity or a Dodon ray or just a huge push of force around you, and those are just different things. And that's something I'm trying to aim for, and finding the balance for that is just ridiculous.
So like I don't think there is a balance for that. The advantage that like Yu Yu Hakusho, Bleach, Dragon Ball Z, and all of them have is that they're a non-interactive form of media. You don't have multiple player characters that are all the personal protagonists. So they can, fucking Goku can Kaioken times 10, which is stupidly, or fucking Super Saiyan levels and multiple Super Saiyan levels, which I still maintain is stupid.
It is.
It is.
I fucking hate it. But they can do that because it's you don't have to balance it.
Yeah.
But like, you do in a role play site. So like, and I mean, there's the argument of someone being there longer. They put in their time, so they're stronger. But I would ask the question: How long do you need? How long is fair to be on a site before someone new to the site has no chance of ever catching up to you?
Right.
Like, do I need to be there a week before them? A month? 6 months? A year? Like, where is that line? Where no matter what you do, you will never catch up to me. And that's the thing. It's just because it's an interactive media, and I guess the way it balances itself out is old beasts, generally lose interest and they move on or make new characters, but not all. Think about how long Arc fucking stuck around.
Yeah.
Like a decade. Nobody could catch up to Arc, no matter what. Nothing against Arc. It's just the inherent nature of the media that we're playing in.
Yeah.
So I don't know if there is a way to balance like what we see in anime and those moments that we would like to replicate or see people replicate.
Yeah.
Because we don't have a cohesive vision. Like, for every instance where, like Marcus had brought up, we saw those bad guys and me, you, and David and Marcus were all on the fucking same page and we did that pair off thing.
Yeah.
Every instance of that, there's 1,000 threads where, no, I'm the fucking hero. No, I'm the hero.
Yep.
Yep.
I think it honestly comes down to the fact that there is an inherent honor system with forum RPing where you have to almost, if you want to give someone something really good, you have to trust that they won't immediately take it and just like start waving it around like a dick in the hand. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I would say the problem with that, though, is that a lot of players do wave it around like a dick in the
Oh
hand.
yeah.
That's the unfortunate part.
Now, there is a way I can balance it. I know, I mean, I can do it. It's there. I just don't like it.
I mean, there's always manual balances where you go through every single bio and rebalance everyone monthly or something. That's a lot of work and it pisses everyone off. But I guess technically you could.
No, well, I mean like hard caps and this is the way. Like you can't deviate. Yeah, I don't like it because I like to deviate. I am a deviating bastard. Uh,
I guess I would make you a deviant.
yeah, right.
Yeah, I was trying so hard not to say
But
it.
see, now I would argue that that's not balancing it at all, though. Like that is because that's not again like looking at like these shonen animes and like trying to figure out how to implement it and balancing it. At that point, you're no longer trying to implement it at all.
Yeah.
You are just you're giving a stagnation, and if we're gonna do that, we might as well just go a statless and not have the stats and things at all.
Exactly.
Which is itself its own problem.
But also with many other benefits. I know in the past I had advocated for the idea of a statless roleplay board, or even just a static roleplay board, but items and things like that would only give effects, no stats.
Yeah.
And there's an honor system with that as well of, people honoring the work that you've put into a character or a character that's written a certain way, case in point, just because he's the oldest character that I know of yours that I can think of, is old Matthew versus anyone. In case in point of, he, regardless of physical prowess, he's been around the block several times.
He's almost 50 years old.
Exactly. Yeah. He has experience that, if someone comes up with something clever, that's awesome. Definitely reward that. But it's with someone like Matthew, he's got experience. Punch to the face isn't going to take care of him unless you're Kale's gravity punch, and then you're still going to need more.
Yeah.
Because it's that sense of reading and understand the character that you're posting with of, okay, this guy's built like a stack of bricks in Kale's case. Maybe they have like a little speedster character and just kind of trying to feel that out as well.
Like, it almost feels like you have to play test it first. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, majority of the time you gotta play test it first. You gotta have people play it. You gotta stare at it and be like, "Is this working?"
Yeah.
For me too is balancing it. I have to. I've realized this the last couple of years is I have to balance something to myself and to realize what I'm going to do to it, because I can be like, yeah, right now there's no way to get a cap over 80, right? I could say that. I could put it in the rules. But there's going to be a reward down the line where I'm going to be like, hey, man, you have 85 stat caps now. And everyone's going to be like, what? How do you do that? How do I do that? And everyone's going to jump at it. And now there's no reason for the stat caps not to be 85. Because if I do something for somebody, I have to do something for somebody else. That's just the fucking rule of being staff. So I have to balance it and realize that I am me, and I am going to break my own rules eventually.
Case in point, I've got multiple characters that have gotten multiple stat cap rewards to buff stat caps.
Yes. Because when I first remade this version of Cabal for Prime World, I was like, you know what? We're going to have an 80 stat cap or 70 stat cap or whatever it was, and that's going to be the measure of your dick. That is your EPing. You hit 70, you're amazing, clap, clap, clap. Make items, because that's how you're going to get over that. And now I think somebody has 85 or 80, or just 10 over that or 15 over that.
Probably me with either Blake or Matthew.
Yeah, so I was like, I'm going to do something against what I intend. So if I'm balancing anything where, like, even when I was remaking the chi system for the chi system that was before this one, that was more like Pokemon, I was like, okay, so chi that's adding...
Okay, Blake's energy is 76 base right now.
It's not even an even number. It's pissing me off.
You're right. You should give him another 4 stat cap for his energy.
No, anyway. When I was making the Pokemon chi system, it was 4 techniques, and I told myself, okay, plus 10, that's like god tier chi. I shouldn't go over that. But now I've got like people adding, because it's 100% your energy stat, It's like people adding 35 to another stat, and I'm like, whatever, I'm okay with this. And if it were like Blake, it's adding 76 to another stat that could be near 50 or 70.
I mean, and that's just his base energy. It's not even counting items or things that boost his energy already, like using abilities to boost his energy to then use that new energy for a new ability.
Right. And if I had a
That goes back to the min-maxing of how you build a cheat.
Exactly.
Yeah.
If
Well,
I
I
had
mean, like the one. No,
Go
I was gonna say the one thing is, these are characters that have been around for so long. It's like, why wouldn't they be that? If there's no top ceiling, and if they're just allowed to exponentially grow, like why wouldn't they be that strong, right?
Right, and that goes back to the nature of the beast. But if I had stayed to the plus 10 being super amazeballs, we wouldn't have, and I've done this before, we wouldn't have stat inflation anywhere, which, I mean, yeah, you could fight it, but really, yeah, I'll just pull that up on screen. I could fight it and be like, okay, no, we need to bring it back down to this because that makes more sense. It's more fair for everybody, blah blah blah. But really, if you don't build your character that way and you don't spend the time to get the UP and the experience, because it's still all the same. If you don't make defense type abilities to protect yourself against those huge major attack damages or whatnot, that's your own fault. That's how
So I would argue that with the current system that you have going on in Cabal,
Yeah.
Everyone's going to reach the stat cap very quickly because now you get an EXP for social threads. 10 posts in a social thread is 1 EXP. That is crazy fast, especially for us old bees.
Yeah.
Now back in my day, you had to fucking fight for your EXP, and then really back in my day, you had to fight for your EXP. You could only apply one of them a day.
Yup.
And we liked it.
We did. We loved it. It was sad.
I mean, no matter what, with this current system that you've got, and again, I mean, I'm not trying to like shit on anything,
Oh yeah.
but you have created a system here that everyone is going to cap out.
Yes.
You're gonna have fucking Jimothy Clavish, the pacifist, with all 70s now. Who remember the average person's supposed to be like stats of all 5s.
Yeah.
So Jimothy Clavish, who never fucking fights, is now exponentially stronger than like any fucking rando person.
Yeah.
And then you're gonna have to have quest characters to compensate and really compensate too, because remember, you're most of the time not gonna be one-on-oneing for big events too. Everyone they're going to gang up on you. So then your quest characters are gonna have to be dealing with people, whole teams of capped out people with these abilities.
Yeah. I mean, I've had a system in place for QCs to deal with huge badass motherfuckers, but I understand.
I mean, I get the HP shield of the boss. I'm just saying this is a future problem that we are going to have because of the current system, is that everyone is going to cap out. If that's a problem that we're fine with as a community, that's fine. Every system's going to have a problem. I'm just pointing it out since we're talking about huge ass numbers.
Yeah,
I walk around with like, I have 1,000,000 points in my attack value. Fuck you.
Yeah, we're gonna hit that soon. Yeah, I understand that issue, and it's not really it's growing, but I haven't seen it abused yet. Like I haven't seen somebody go, okay, we've both hit 10 points. Let's end this thread and start right where we left off for the EXP. I see people going the 8-10 pages like we used to do, or like we usually do. So I mean, if you're being social and your character's supposed to be a badass because you wrote it that way, sure. But if you're a pacifist and you suddenly use your stats that you've got, amazing because of your socials to fight or do harm or whatnot, I'm gonna look at you weird.
But at the end of the day, they followed the rules and got their stats. So when Celia has all 70s, I'm just saying.
Look, if she can defeat a bad guy with her bubble beam, I'm for it. But I understand.
No, but I mean, Celia might be able to go up to a new player who, says something rude, and all of a sudden this fucking lady hits him with like a 70 fucking attack. when this character is non-combative, is this social lady, and it you have this disconnect. I think the advantage, and maybe it's just me being old and stuck in my ways. I think the advantage of gaining the EXP through quests and fighting is that if you are going to be strong in combat, then you're doing a lot of combat.
Yeah. No, I understand where you're coming from. The current system in place the way that it is right now is because I don't foresee anyone else doing the kind of GM work that I was doing before. So I think players need another
Yeah,
way.
I got like 6 GM threads up right now.
Look, man, I'm just saying.
Yeah, you've been busy.
That was the way I was looking at it at the time. Was like, I didn't foresee anyone picking up the reins like I had picked up everything.
Got more in the wings too. Adam wants me to GM for Elias and Rose.
Yeah, we've got a few, and it's just like, boy, I hope you don't have any other hobby.
Right. So I was like, okay, players are gonna need another way to get strong without me. Doing quests and personal threads and all sorts of other shit.
Counterpoint.
Yeah.
Old 552. Badass has had 25 in the stat, and we liked it. Man, remember the first time you saw a motherfucking walking around with a 30 attack? I'm like, holy shit.
Yeah, right. See, first time you see somebody with a 30 or 35 in their attack, with items, obviously, you're like, oh my god, what happened?
But no chi, so nothing that's multiplying, just additive affection. Like, oh fuck. Percentages and multipliers, as much as I abuse them, are that's an exponential problem for power creep.
Yeah, that's future Leon's problem. Yeah, I mean, like,
Okay,
it's one of
the. I'm gonna tell you right now, Leon. I'm gonna remind future Leon you said this.
Future Leon can be mad at me all he wants. But I mean, again, it's one of those systems where I had to implement it, see how it goes. If it sucks, it sucks. I'll get rid of it.
Yeah, I mean, there's no perfect system. There's no perfect system. I'm picking on it because it's the current one, and that's what I'm looking at as I'm.
Oh, for sure.
Looking at the board and we're here talking.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Are there any systems that were like in place that you were just like, fuck no?
Noticing the quiet.
not really. Fuck no. There was a system for another site not related to Shinverse at all. That is probably my favorite system I've ever role played with in my life.
Oh.
And yeah, the fucking staff were toxic as shit, and it was terrible.
Oh.
But the system.
Why does the system
was great. The system was perfectly balanced, I felt, so that a starting character could still win against an advanced character. And you can make your powers literally whatever you wanted, and it was automatically balanced. You can make your character literally able to warp and shape reality like Scarlet Witch. And you could still beat them with Little Mac. Because what it was is that you had different types of powers, and then you would select them. So you had aggressive powers, defensive powers, support powers, and maneuver powers. And then you had different types of those powers that you would pick. And then you would it would be rock, paper, scissors. Like your attack powers were your strongest ones.
Yeah.
But they were the slowest. They would always activate last in the lineup. And so when you're building your character, you get so many points to put into powers or defenses against certain powers. And so you would have to make those decisions. So like, you give Leon level 3 destruction because of his powerful lightning fang and like level 2 movement because he's super fast.
Yeah.
But Leon's got no fucking debuff shit, and Leon's got no defenses, so Leon's like all attack. Well, that's great. Matthew, maybe he's more balanced. Maybe he's only got a 2 attack and maybe a 1 maneuver ability, but he's got a 1 in this debilitation type and like a 1 in the defense. So like, I'm able to defend against your thing if you hit me with that, and I can do this other stuff. And if you don't have any defenses, then I'm just going to be working up on you. And how it basically worked is every one of these things, you would either hit uncontested, it would be partially resisted, or fully resisted. And all events were in teams. There were always 3v3. Even if you weren't working together, you would basically be like, what's your character in this thread and what's their objective? And that would be kind of like what side you're on. And then the fight was quote unquote over when one team had 100%. Because that was like progress towards winning the fight. And that would mean that the other team was either beaten up or maybe they had to withdraw or whatever.
Right on.
And how it was done is that basically all of these events, you would write up your post to the GM that was GMing that thread, and everyone would PM him every round with what their attack was and what they were doing. So you would write down, like, Leon's going to do this, but you wouldn't put any of the part of your attack. And you would send it to me. And I would look at everyone's, and then I would have this graph here that shows, okay, well, debilitating effects go first, but they're the weakest. And then down the line, and basically compare everyone's numbers, defenses, and who they were targeting. So you target Leon, or you target Marcus with your level 2 destruction, but Marcus has defense level 2 destruction, so it doesn't do anything to him. No progress is gained. But Marcus is level 1, piddly level 1 maneuver. You didn't do anything to counter that maneuver, so now he gets this percentage. And then basically rewards were kind of paid out based on that. So the winning team, the GM would then ask each of the players on the winning team, what are you hoping to accomplish from this? Like, what's your goal? So Matthew, Leon, and Marcus were on the winning team, right?
Okay.
So Marcus is like, I'm here to do this. I'm here to get my bike back from the fucking impound that these gangers have taken it. Leon's like, honestly, I'm just here because I'm fucking bored and I want to blow shit up. And Matthew's there because he's like, I'm trying to get the information from this hard drive. So then he would roll between us winners. Leon fucking wins. So before Matthew and Marcus were able to get their shit, Leon blew up the fucking building.
Yeah, that was a really good system. It's still probably one of my fondest systems I've ever seen in play.
Staff were garbage, though. But it was perfectly balanced, and the staff couldn't, like... Because the staff would copy and paste everyone's post in their GM post. That was them GMing, was just basically being the ballot box.
Yeah.
And one of the GMs, he went the extra mile, and he copied and pasted everyone's thing so you could see what they wrote. And then he wrote a post basically outlining how it all happened cinematically in his head, and we would go on from there. So it was a little bit of extra work for the GM, but not a lot of creative extra work for the GM.
Yeah.
Especially because these plots it was a superhero supervillain site, so we had factions of heroes and villains doing their dastardly and heroic deeds. It was also kind of cool that everybody had to make 2 accounts and 2 bios per character.
Yeah.
You had your super persona, and then you had your secret identity. So you would post your secret identities bio, and it would just be like a fucking normal person. And then you would post on your other account a little snippet of your superhero, basically like how the world sees them, like in a paragraph. And then you would send the staff your real bio of like how it all meshes together.
That's interesting.
So if you were clever and you didn't like post everything all at the same time, it's realistic that out of character someone wouldn't know who is who. So like I had a character Gilgamesh, and he was basically the idea of like using chi and like physical perfection and honing with training and weapons and shit like that, right?
Yep.
He was a lot like Blake. He didn't talk much. He fucking hated people. He was really aggressive. no fucking chill. Like every hit was a hit to either knock you out or kill you.
Yeah, as much as Blake was no breaks Blake, it was like amped up on Gil.
But then his persona was a fucking theater kid who was super nice, very outgoing, a little flirtatious, and that was the persona that he did. But meanwhile, his internal monologue was as he's like, say, chatting up Celia and complimenting her and reading her poetry or talking about Shakespeare and things like that. He's meanwhile just thinking about what a vapid fucking waste of flesh she is and how much he hates her.
Damn.
It was great. It was a lot of fun.
Made a ton of friends. And I say that only half jokingly.
Yeah, so that was the best system I ever did.
Right on. Let me see. So, did you ever do a board that you never thought you would do? Like, I myself never think I'm going to do a Harry Potter board.
No, I've tried out all kinds of stuff. I even tried a Naruto board, and I've never watched Naruto, and I hate Naruto.
That's fair.
No, like I'm open to trying most things if somebody pitches me on it, and like I can come up with a cool character idea.
Yeah.
Especially if I can get away with not having to like watch the source material of it. Something. I guess the one thing I'm not really open to, and I don't think I ever will, is I am not really open to a board where I'm just going to play an animal. Like I have no interest in just RPing a cat in a world where we're all playing cats, or RPing a wild horse. I don't understand the appeal of it. I have no interest in it.
Yeah, I agree. Joy, do you have anything?
I guess, what would be the character of yours that you feel you can most relate to? Don't necessarily have to like them, but can relate to them.
I mean, it's still going to be Matthew. He's been a part of my headspace for 15 years.
That's fair. It's a long time for him to get comfy and make room.
I don't always agree with him, but I understand it.
Ryguy, do you have any questions?
I actually kind of want to shoot one that you got to me last time. Was if you could allow someone else to control your characters for a bit, who would it be and why? And it could be like whichever character you'd like to talk about.
So, yeah, a couple of highlights, I guess. I would be really interested in seeing how Leon would play Matthew, because they have such a history together. I'm curious on what Leon's thoughts of what's inside Matthew's head is, and how he would portray that. I'm really curious to see Rye play the punk, because apparently the punk mortifies and horrifies and disgusts him. So I think that suffering would be fantastic, and I would love to see that. Let's see. I would think for you, Raj, I would be really interested in seeing how you would play Killian, because I've only ever seen you play Marcus, and I am not sure how you would handle a person with a really strong sense of like knightly duty and right and wrong, but also very big reservations about being a knight and wanting to make his own way in a completely non-violent direction. Killian, in his original incarnation, ran away from being a knight of Camelot to start a circus.
It's a bit of a switch.
So I'm curious on how you would handle that duality of like the clown and the knight. As for Joy, at first I would say Blake, but I feel like Joy is Joy playing Blake. So I would be really curious to see how Muse would play Kale. I want to see how she would handle such a strong character living in a world of cardboard.
That would probably be pretty fun.
Yeah.
Alternatively, I would also like to see everyone's take on the Punk. I want to see you all at your worst.
Oh, I would be so terrified to do that. Not because I'd be like, oh, I wouldn't know how to do it. It's just more like, so how bad am I allowed to go?
Wait till I
He's
get
really
myself
bad.
on the interview.
Yeah, he's
Because I could be pretty fucking bad. I just don't like showing it.
he's pretty bad.
Slavery is in the open in fucking Territory 1. It's not a problem. One of Joy's characters bought like a fucking some spell ingredients. She did not realize that those spell ingredients were from a slave that they bought in Territory 1 and then butchered for parts for spell ingredients to sell to mages like her.
Yeah.
And the slave was wasn't someone that did something bad. It was someone that they raided and took from her home. It was a victim the whole way. Totally fine, totally legal. There are two illegal things in Territory 1. One, no murder within the walls. You can do it outside, but not in the walls. It's bad for business. Killing slaves does not count as murder. That's property damage. That has its own like civil fines and shit like that. You got to reimburse the dude. The other one is you cannot break a contract. Bad for business. Everything else goes.
Okay.
You can be really bad in Territory 1.
Kind of makes me think of that whole like night, like hidden market kind of environment.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, my philosophy is that you can pretty much find whatever you want in Territory 1, and you can buy it, but it's also probably going to cost something other than money in some way, shape, or form. But it will also cost money.
So do you have any questions for us, Ragai?
Okay. So, I guess one general question to everybody, first off. Did I rant way too much? I feel like I got really on a bunch of rant trains.
Oh no, dude! This is your like interview, man. Like that's kind of what we're our questions and stuff is trying to coax that response out of you. To be honest.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure I wasn't like talking too much shit because I felt like I got really animated a few times.
Nah, you good, man.
Oh yeah, no.
Okay.
As the children say, spill the tea, young one.
I've never heard that saying because I'm over 30.
Have also never heard that saying.
Being on Twitter is the only reason why I even know that exists.
Oh god.
Okay, so Raj.
Yeah.
What are you most excited for moving forward?
Oh, pardon me. Sorry. In context of the site or context of life in general.
You know what? Give me both. I care about you as a person and as a character, Raj.
Okay. I guess I'll start with the site first. Excited about the new character I plan on making. I actually do have a concept for the. I've talked about it before. I have a concept for the New World character, and the idea is he's basically a like his childhood was him growing up in broken homes, and went down a dark path. Ended up in juvie a couple times. My intention is to literally have his first thread be. Sorry, what?
No, go ahead. I'm being talked at.
Okay. No worries. My intention is actually have his first thread be literally him walking out of juvenile hall and then just be like, okay, that's step 1 done. Step 2 time now.
By the time Adam gets to it tomorrow, you will.
There gives me some Yakuza 7 vibes.
A little bit, like his entire idea, because he was like a street kid. He's a complete hood rat, basically. And his intent is to basically go back to that, but then build a street gang around it, just to like create a sort of like, it's one part to create a sanctuary for other like disenfranchised, like, you know, crime kids like him, and then another thing of just like he wants to build a family around himself because he never really had one. So yeah, it's gonna be that. Life in general, things that I'm excited about. I think at my work, because I work at a furniture retail place, and a lot of stuff got shooken up because of COVID, because of a few of our guys in our stock department ended up on recovery leave because they suffered like an injury or something like that, which has like completely shaken up the power structure to the point where I literally have gone from common worker to now in line to becoming a supervisor. And now that another guy is on recovery leave, I'm basically in charge. I suddenly find myself in charge of a bunch of stuff now. So it's like, oh shit. Cool. Okay, cool. I can work with this. I can work with this now. And now it's like I can't just hide behind other people. Now I'm like suddenly thrusted into it.
Also, Cricket had a question.
So I'm kind of excited. So I'm pretty excited for that.
Well, I wish you the best of luck on that, man. Like, good luck with your career.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I don't know how much of a career it's going to be because it's basically, as it is now, I'm a glorified stock boy. But I kind of feel like if I get the supervisor position, that's at least something that'll look good on the resume for whatever next I do.
Absolutely. For Muse, so you've seen a lot of my characters over the years, both GM and normal. What character do you hope I never fucking play again? If I never touch that character again, it's too soon. Who do you hate the most of my characters?
It's a good question.
Oh goodness! Now I have to think of all the characters you've made.
And I don't mean like, oh well, Punk is skeevy, so him, like, he's a bad person and I hate him. I meant like as a writer and a reader and a role player. Who do you fucking hate like the most?
You know, it's... Oh, gosh. I'm not gonna... He skeeves me out, but there isn't really one that I would say I hate as a writer, reader, or role player. Because this character in particular pushed the crap out of Allie. I mean, if there was ever a person she hated more than dealing with like the scum of the earth, it would have been good old Greg.
Okay.
But you play a very diverse set of characters. Both I've noticed you never really have any two that are the same. Even if they're just like personally would skeeve me out, there's none that I think would make me just like, ugh, this person again. If it would be more of, oh, I'm gonna hate this, but I'm gonna love this.
That's fair. Raj, just for your information, Greg is Punk's brat that's currently 8th in line for the throne.
Oh, good
Number
lord.
8.
And
Yeah.
she's the do-good girl with a very easy temper.
He ended up making her a slave for the day and got a very, like Leon ranked the item on a scale of 1 to 10 of importance to Cabal.
Yeah.
A number 7 item from them in exchange for returning her after publicly humiliating her. He is in charge of the gambling scene in Territory 1. His chi is a voodoo doll chi, and he goaded Allie to making a bet on a coin toss. Her freedom for him buying the slave that was being beaten that she tried to step in and stop. And I literally rolled a D2 in the chat, and before I rolled, I asked her to pick 1 or 2, and she lost that coin toss.
Oh my god.
He actually, this wasn't GM fuckery. I actually rolled a D2 where everyone could see it. and she really bet it on a coin toss and lost.
That is amazing.
And he would have honored his end of the bargain if he had won the coin toss because he doesn't fucking care. But yeah, he was like all willing to gamble it and fucking goaded her and played her into doing it.
That is actually amazing.
Yeah.
It was fun. It was fun.
It was a lot
I mean,
of
it
fun.
sounds bad for you, but it was.
Oh, it was terrible for her, but boy, did she learn a few lessons along the way.
Oh my goodness.
Leon.
Mm-hmm.
Leon.
No.
I have 2 questions for you.
Okay.
Question number 1.
Yeah.
Should I keep trying to break your systems?
Yes.
You act like
Okay.
that has any other answer other than
Listen. Maybe he's like, no, please stop. I don't want to deal with that.
Look, while I
Look,
have...
man, I'm tired.
Yeah. Look, if I'm not tired after 15 years of him fucking up my systems, like, it's not gonna happen. But also, it's a good go and test. Like, I'll be proud of a system. Like, yeah, I think this one's pretty good. And then fucking Ryan will come in and do one thing. I'm like, well, that system's actually really shit.
The min-maxer in me.
Yeah, but it helps me grow, so go for it.
So, as for like a question that's probably going to have to actually make you think more, is do you still like read all of the threads and everything that happens pretty much?
As many as I can. It's good night material.
So, which one of my quest NPCs / plot arcs are you gets you like the most interested? Like, what are you like eagerly hoping to see me do more, or who to bring back? Like, what quest character or plot line do you want me to pick up right now and make a motherfucking thread?
Oh man, that's a toughie for me.
It can be for you or another character. I'm just, since you read everything.
Yeah. Oh man.
No, it's also 11:30. I'm not making a thread tonight.
No, yeah, I got you. So I was sitting pretty much edge of my seat every time somebody would bring up Dragonhearth. Just ever since you took it over, because the things that we talked about or you'd hinted at a couple of times in the images I've seen, I'm just like, somebody do something, find the things. Somebody please find the things.
You're still on the world
I'm really
somewhere.
tempted to tell Raj what the fucking dragon flame does. Like, I'm really tempted to tell him.
But I just
Just
want
not on here where anyone listening to the podcast can hear it.
right.
Pretty much. Like, if you want to DM me, like,
No, I'm not going to DM you. I got to tell you because I want to hear your reaction.
Right. We'll hit the after party.
Okay, well, if anyone's listening, there's a bunch of lovable freaks out there that are totally fine. Don't worry about it. And they're definitely not guarding a secret to a really broken, strong power in the old world.
Right.
Like, we've talked about, Joy mentioned Matthew and all of his experience and how, he can pretty much overcome everything.
Yeah.
This is a level of bullshit I think is beyond his ken. Ironically.
Like, I'll see
Agreed.
Dragonhearth, I'll see Territory 2 or Dragonhearth be brought up in chat, or somebody's talking about it in a thread, and
I wanted people to do it and nobody fucking cared.
my eyes will go wide and I'll be like, yes, come on, do it.
like I said, man, dangle the carrot in front of Marcus. He'll probably chase after it.
But any
God.
particular NPC, QC, instead of storyline, I really enjoy Lucifer's whole deals thing. In that he actually, he gives people what they ask for. and there is a cost, and nobody's found the cost yet, and I want it. I want to see it.
There is something else about it. I will tell you off stream as well that tickles me. But I will say on stream, I am constantly amazed how many people are one, totally fine making a deal with Lucifer, and
Oh,
then
yeah.
two, are shocked Pikachu face when something bad happens for making a deal with Lucifer.
So many shocked
He's not
Pikachu
wrong.
face. So many.
What's this? The consequences for my actions.
It's great. It's like, wait, making an actual deal with actual Lucifer is
Bad?
that was a bad thing?
Yeah.
That way that had negative things, but I got what I wanted.
You're saying
But
that
he
was
was
a
so polite.
mistake.
Oh, he's so much fun. I do like Lucifer. I'm always hesitant to play him because, like, one, it can unbalance shit real fast. So, Marcus, basically what I will tell you about Lucifer on stream is, from what I've worked out with Leon, is Marcus can ask Lucifer any question, much like Virgil, but without any restrictions, or for anything, and you will get it. You want Delilah to be back to life? Boom. Here she fucking is. You want to be fucking Zeus? Fucking Olympus bows before you, my dude. You want fucking power beyond, like, you know, normal mortal reckoning? How's, like, fucking 100 stat caps work for you, man?
Jesus.
Like,
So he's
you want
basically
it.
like,
Yeah,
okay.
Lucifer has no limitations.
Yeah. Now, that being said, it's got a fucking cost.
Hmm.
He doesn't want your fucking money. And so, but beyond that, the nature of the power. So, it's based on equivalent exchange. I'm going to use Charlie as an example because I think it's a very good example of it.
Hmm.
We had a point where Leon had like a little event and we were getting Keyblade. So basically, if you opted to do this, he was going to reach into your heart and pull out a Keyblade. There was a chance you would die. It was basically kind of a roll to see if you're going to die.
Yeah.
If you live, you got the sweet ass fucking power. If you died, well, you're fucking dead. That's it. You're done.
Yeah.
So, Charlie had one of her characters there, and her character was really afraid to do this. And she has had interactions with Lucifer in the past, and she prayed to Lucifer. And she prayed for courage to do this. And Lucifer granted her courage and took away her fear. She was no longer afraid of this. And furthermore, because her heart was so set and resolved, she was guaranteed to succeed.
Yeah.
So she got her Keyblade. But for X amount of threads, she also lost all empathy.
Okay. See, like, because you're saying, oh, like, cost, I'm thinking, like, something like world, like, but that, like, I'm not gonna lie, something like a little cliched almost, but that's actually super clever.
I mean, it might be sometimes cliche. It really depends on the wish. So it's some kind of an equivalent exchange. And then any deal with Lucifer also ends with you getting a Mark of the Beast. So on the site, there are various quest events and things that will sometimes reward marks. And generally, you would choose between two. So, like, for instance, one event, Matthew chose, I think, between, like, the Mark of the Dragon or the Mark of the Avenger.
Mm-hmm.
And then you can take those marks and you can put them on, like, this thing. And then you get, like, a Chi Sprite mutation thing for your Chi Sprites and crap like that, right?
Yeah.
So with Lucifer, there is no choice. You get the Mark of the Beast. Period. Because, you know, it's Lucifer.
Yeah.
Just like I also resolved, if you remember, Avenger, one of my PMPCs from old time.
Mm-hmm.
Any event that where Avenger is my quest NPC, no matter what, one of the options to choose will be Mark of the Avenger. Just always. Oh, no, it will always be a choice in Avenger threads.
Okay.
But yeah, so you would get your wish and you would get a Mark of the Beast, and then there would be a cost associated with the wish.
Interesting. Does the Mark of the does the Mark have any like other mechanics to it, or is it just shows that you act? It's like basically the proof of the contract being sealed.
Not that anyone's been able to examine or find out or bothered to look into.
Okay, I see.
Yeah,
If
that's
you make
part of
multiple deals, though, you do need to know how many marks of the beast you got.
yeah, that's part of what I was like. I wanna see. Give me.
Lore that is not my lore? Shiny?
Yeah.
But Lucifer's also not necessarily malevolent either. If you want an example, look on the you go to the board and then go to the New World, look under special events, and you will see I have a thread there called Lessons. This is a 5-page thread. He is with an 8-year-old or 9-year-old little girl there in that thread. So, when the world ended, someone wished for like the innocents to be spared, and so he teleported every single child from the doomed world to this new world that was aged 12 or lower.
Oh,
And
that was his doing.
That was his doing. And they populated all these little orphanages, except he kept 2 of them for himself to raise. Derek and Ash.
Player characters.
They are player characters, but he kept them. But yeah, that was his doing. Like, you can legitimately wish from Lucifer whatever you want. You want Leon back from the Sudeki afterlife? Leon's gonna get ready to play Leon. You want Matthew fucking dead? He's done. Game over. No saves.
Yup.
No, I'm not gonna lie. I have a bit of a soft spot for characters like that, just because they're such a wild card influence on whatever setting they're in. That it's just like, ooh, I want to see what you do next.
I will also tell you this. Lucifer simultaneously exists in every single timeline and universe. It is the same Lucifer, aware in all of them.
Oh, so he's just basically full Eldritch abomination then.
Yes.
In human guise.
You will see in this thread, he is helping Ash trying to look into the 4th dimension. You know how we see in 3D?
Yeah. What thread was? Where's that thread again?
Lessons. I'll link.
Okay. Yeah.
But she asked him just casually, "How many dimensions do you see in?" Right? Because she's a kid and she's curious. 9.
Jesus.
He's not human, or if he was, he no longer is. He is that. So yeah, he is in all timelines. He is the source of the god rights, and because of that, he's also the reason why many gods go crazy.
Okay.
Someone once wished for the power of a god to save their people, to save someone they loved. So he created the process, make a god right, and bring the gods of legends back to man. But it has a price.
Look.
So he can do this stuff himself. He generally doesn't, because he doesn't really like paying the price himself. I think he mentions it in the set at one point in narration. He's tried that before. He's paid his pound of flesh, and he saw what that got him.
Yep.
So he's beholden to his own rules then.
Yeah, it's just that's how his powers work. You do not get something for nothing. He could probably do some stuff for nothing. Like, he could get like a glass of water or something, but like, if he's just gonna fucking like snap his fingers and kill Leon, and no one's wishing for that, it's coming out of him in some way, shape, or form. He can do some things. He can travel between the worlds and shit like that without having to pay a price because of other abilities that he's got, essentially. Mm-hmm. But like his big like fucking shit, he is beholden to his own rules.
Okay, I definitely am going to have to pay attention to him a lot more now then.
Mm-hmm. And he answers prayers.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes even if they're not directed towards him.
Yep, because some people like to just pray to whoever's listening.
Yeah, sometimes they just fucking put him on blast.
That's a good decision.
Let me tell you.
Anyone help me, Lucifer comes in. Hello.
He might, yeah. Like, just imagine, like, fucking Marcus is trying to get his bike back. He fucking bit off more than he can chew. His fucking kneecap's broken. His fucking bike is like on fire. He had gone in with Delilah, and fucking Delilah is like dead. And this fucking dude that fucking killed Delilah is about to stab Marcus's throat, and all of a sudden time stops, and fucking Lucifer walks out in a fucking suit as the blade is like an inch from Marcus's fucking throat. Marcus can't move anything but like his mouth and eyes, and he's like, "Well, this is a really bad situation that you're in. I can see why you asked for help. How can I be of service?"
Shit, that actually begs the question: would he actually take him up on that? I don't know if he would or not.
Yeah.
I mean, would he ask questions? Would he ask to save himself? Would he ask to bring Delilah back? Like, what would he do? There's a lot in that situation that probably have gone better.
Yeah, that's something that's gonna give me something to think about for the next little while.
Oh yeah.
It's
a big.
The sky is the limit, but there will be a cost, and the bigger the wish, the bigger the cost.
I'm. Oh fuck. Ryan.
Yes.
And there's 5 Matthews.
Mm-hmm.
How many? Wait, there's 3 that you know of, right?
So remember, Matthew 2 is dead.
Right.
So there are 3 that I'm aware of that are currently alive and in the world doing shit.
Okay, so there are 5 that are alive in the world doing shit.
Oh, that's right. You're right. There is also the Heartless and the Nobody version. That's correct.
Oh my God.
Still around.
Matthew died when he got his Keyblade, but Matthew had 3 respawns, and so he came back to life. He fucking bet Asaph that he was gonna die doing it too. Bet him $20. Fucking Matthew drops dead. Asaph sighs, puts a 20 on the table, and like looks at his fucking watch. A second later, Matthew gasps for air as his fucking hand shoots up and grabs the 20 off the table.
Mm-hmm.
As you do.
Yep, but since he died, a Heartless and a Nobody was created.
Mm.
I haven't done anything with them because I assumed that they were yours to do things with, but
I
if
mean,
you want me to think about them, I will.
They are generally mine to do what will, but I mean, if you want to fuck around with them, I don't care.
You have to go play by hunting for what a Heartless and fucking Nobody Matthew would look like.
And what his whatchamacallit name would be.
Yeah, what his Nobody name would be.
Yeah, it was Nobody name.
I'll have to talk to Adam and Lisa about that because they're really good with that shit.
Yeah. Oh, wait. Just thinking about it, like, go over here to my little secret list in the chat.
Yep, I think there's a Heartless Kale out there too, or a Nobody. Yeah, one of them.
No. It's up here. Where did my Heartless and Nobody list go? Oh, yeah, all the marks you can get. Yeah. Cole. Was it before this? How long ago did I kill people with the fucking Keyblades?
A long time ago.
There we go.
Quite a while ago.
Heartlesses and
Sounds
Nobodies.
like it.
So Heartless, Matthew, Rose, Crane, Kale, Stevie, Elias, and Tina. Nobodies. Got Matthew, Rose, Crane, John, Oni, Rona, and John D, which was one of Corey's characters. But there's a Heartless Tina out there blowing off dicks.
No remorse.
No remorse.
None whatsoever. She's a terrible trash gremlin, and I love her.
Don't they just make the best characters?
They do.
They do.
She wants me to make her 2 best friends, Junkrat and Roadhog.
Oh my God.
Alright, so I think that is going to end us, unless you have anything going on in your life that you would like to promote now.
I've just been working full time, and I recently hit affiliate. You can find me on Twitch TV. TheRylander is my name on there, and yeah, I recently hit affiliate a week ago today.
Congratulations.
Congrats.
Once
Yeah,
again.
congratulations.
Alright. Well, I'm going to set up the raid. Let's see who's on to raid. Here I go. But I would like to thank my panel once again for sticking it in there and staying, if you know what I mean. I waggle.
Problem.
I'd also like to thank my guests for giving me the time to do the interview.
It was a pleasure to come.
Awesome. More of the phrasing.
But I was trying so hard not to be like, just make sure you're clean up after you're done.
Are we not doing phrasing anymore?
Is phrasing not a thing?
Phrasing is a thing, I think. Man, I don't know. Who should we get? Thug Kage or Kevy?
I would say Kevy. I think Kevy, since he's a smaller streamer, I think it helps him more.
All right, we'll hit Kevy.
Especially if everyone's gonna go to the bed, we don't have time for that Kage to hype us all up.
No.
That's fair, Kevy. It's 2 V's. Motherfuck.
Yep, 2 B's, 3 I's, and number 3.
Oh, wow. Doesn't work like that. Alright. Oh, yeah, it does.
Yep, it's going. We're ready. We're ready to raid.
We're raiding.
Here, it's your chance to do
Turn his audio on.
Oh wait, I give it to Wish.
Let's go. This is fun.
Yeah, I mean, we just increased his viewer count by 50%.
Oh my god! Thank you, Leon. Thank you, Leon, for the raid. Oh god. Thank you for the raid. How are you? How are you? Hi, Rye. Hi, Rye. Is it fine if I call you Rye? No, that's fine. I have a friend, who's Ryan. I call him. Hi, how are you? How was your stream? How was your stream?
Such a wholesome person.
He is.
He is a wholesome person.
Hi, Muse.
I'm
Hi,
just gonna
how
go
are
ahead
you
and
guys?
follow
How are
him.
you guys?
Bing.
Hi, Obsidian Dragon. Thanks for the follow. Thanks for the follow.
So we're off your stream now, right, Leon?
Yeah, it's